What's up, everyone? Welcome to BRAP. It's the pre-holiday Christmas show. Happy holidays, everyone, and welcome. So, hold on. I'm getting some feedback here. Hold on. Happy holidays, everyone. Hold on. Welcome. So. All right. I don't know if that fixed it. I think it did. All right. Yeah, I was getting some feedback. Hopefully, you guys aren't hearing feedback, but I was getting some feedback. I think it did. Nope. All right. Yeah, I was getting some feedback. Hopefully, you guys aren't hearing feedback, but I was getting. All right, still getting feedback. Hold on just a sec here. All right, let me try that. Hopefully I think that may have solved the problem. If everyone's hearing feedback now. Yeah, it's a long feedback loop. Can you guys hear me now? All right, hopefully everything's okay now. Nope, that didn't solve the problem. I don't know. Let's see. Did that solve the problem? Yeah, we're on camera now. So if you guys can let me know, hopefully everything's okay now. You guys can let me know if everything is good in terms of the audio. I'm not sure what's happening here using StreamYard, so I don't know. If you guys can let me know in the live chat. If you guys can hear me, anyone? Brian East? Sounds good. Okay. I feel like we're in a Verizon commercial. Yeah, it sounds like that, right? Verizon commercial. Definitely sounds like that. So, anyhow, I mean, look, it happens. So, StreamYard want to act right now. Exactly. So, again, happy holidays, everyone. Merry Christmas to those who celebrate Christmas. And yeah, I'm good. So, thank you. But welcome, everyone. So, Logic should be joining us here in just a bit. I'm not sure. What's up, T Rock? T Rock's in the house. T Rock, you should hop on, man. I don't think you've ever been on BRAP. You should certainly hop on, sir. You should hop on. Turn my mic settings up here. But yeah, I got a lot to talk about. Satya Nadella discussing Xbox, redefining what an Xbox consumer is. Oddly enough, that was kind of an interesting interview that he had about Xbox. We'll talk about that, and we'll discuss Mark Cerny with giving out some additional specs about the PlayStation 5 Pro. I gave him more of a deep dive, clearing up some things that were out there, some rumors per se. The man, the myth, the legend, Logic. Yeah, he will be here soon. We're going to discuss Capcom. And Capcom looking to bring some IPs back. These are SteelSeries headsets. That's actually correct there, T-Rock. These are the SteelSeries headsets. You are 110% correct, sir. SteelSeries it is. You probably see my ceiling. I have pop-up tiles. Damn water stains. That really bugs me, by the way. Had a leak, by the way. Refrigerator leaked. Pinhole in one of the pipes. Pinhole leak, believe it or not, a lot of water. Pinhole leak, crazy. Of course, you can see my memorabilia back there, or my statues. So, anyhow, but hope everyone's well tonight. Hope everyone's well. So this is what we're gonna do from now on moving forward. We're gonna have the show at 9 p.m. Eastern time on Friday nights. For many years, the show was at 9 p.m. Wednesday, but we decided to move the show to Friday nights from now. Just seems to work better for everyone's schedule. Works better for my schedule as well. So just take note of that. 9 p.m. on Fridays, and if you see me glancing to the side here, my TV's here, my 65-inch OLED, watching the Caps play the Carolina Hurricanes. They're up 3-0. Caps are up 3-0. Caps are playing well without Ovechkin, by the way. If you're a hockey fan, Caps are playing really well without Ovechkin. I mean, they are, I believe, second in points in the Eastern Conference. So not bad considering they lost their top scorer. Ovechkin, prior to his injury, was leading the league in goals scored at 15. But this looks like a good team, by the way. Solid team. Yeah, Doomsayer says, "Oh shit, I could be on BRAP now." Yes, you can, Doomsayer. We'll have to get you back on some. Doomsayer, we'll have to get you on sometime, man. We'll have to figure that out. Yeah, so we're gonna do the camera thing from now on moving forward. I think why not, right? Do the camera thing. We'll do that. I think everyone likes the camera. Yay to the camera. So I think everyone likes that. Go Rangers. Man Overboard says go Rangers. No, we're not going to say go Rangers. Go Caps. Go Caps. This right here, by the way, this is if you guys can see this, this is a Titanfall poster by Todd McFarlane. So this is that here. It's actually really nice poster. I also have a Todd McFarlane Assassin's Creed Black Flag poster here as well. Yeah, I hear you, Chat Stud. It's good to put a name to the face, even if it's not what you thought someone looked like. Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you. Logic is here. We'll probably talk about the new Superman trailer that just came out. Do want to talk about GameIndustry.biz puts out their year in numbers. They put that out every year. The year in numbers 2024. That just came out. We'll talk about that here in just a second. Sorry, a little distracted by the Caps game right now. Trying to figure out trying to move my seat up here. Sorry, trying to adjust my chair, and I can't find the damn handle. It's here somewhere. It is here somewhere. I don't know why the hell I can't find the handle of my chair. All right, I give up. All right, should do a MTV Cribs of Man Caves. Yeah, that would be cool. I'd tell you who's got a nice man cave is Nate. Yeah, Nate's got. I mean, him and Priscilla have a very nice setup. Very nice setup. Really nice setup. Black Flag was amazing. Black Flag was really good. I really enjoyed Black Flag. It's one of my favorite Assassin's Creed game, and this is really bothering me that I can't find. Hold on a sec here. some reason I can't find. Hold on. I can't find the I want to recline my seat, but I can't find the damn handle. All right, so I want to BRAP, that little kid saying Superman really got me tearing up. I hear you. I thought it was a really good trailer. I'm excited. James Gunn's behind this. You know, he's behind Guardians of the Galaxy. That James Gunn. I thought it was. I mean, I really liked the trailer. I thought it was a good trailer. Crypto. We got to see Crypto, which was cool. Croto Rig. Is that a pizza? Is that a picture of a pizza? That's what it looks like. I forgot my PFP, the assassin symbol. Yes, Capono. These are Steel Series 7Ps. Check them out. One of my favorite headsets, too. Nah, that Superman suit is cool, man. I disagree. I like the Superman suit. Disagree. It's from a... Oh, hold on. I watched a lot of James Gunn show movies recently. I think anyone talking trash will still cry if anything happens to Crypto in the movie. I agree. Let's hope Crypto is safe. Yeah, it's from a pizza place. And what kind of pizza is that? That doesn't look like New York pizza to me. Looks like more like a Chicago type pizza. Your 7Ps are black? Okay, I didn't know they come in black. Anyway, yeah, I do like them. I use the 7Ps for PC gaming. So, all right, let me go to I'm going to go to GameIndustry.biz here. One of the last great bastions of gaming journalism. So every year, for the last couple of years, they've been doing a GameIndustry.biz presents the year in numbers 2024. So this is their annual infographic that reveals the global games market value, best-selling games, biggest mobile markets, and more. So we're going to get into that here. So you'll see that the global games market values courtesy of Newzoo. They also have data coming from Nielsen GfK, from in the US from Circana, and Japan data coming from Famitsu. So the global games market value here, you'll see this total. This is 184.3 billion. It's a lot of money. It's up 0.2% year on year. Obviously, there's been some declines this year. I think in part two, some of the declines could probably say has to do with decline in hardware sales. Probably not a lot of big budget releases this year compared to 2023. Obviously, there's probably some, I would say probably some inflationary dynamics that may have hurt spend in other parts of the world. Probably not as much here in the U.S. But you look at game consoles here. Game consoles 50.3 billion, down minus 4%. PC games 41.5 billion year, down 0.2%. Mobile games up 90 at 92.5 billion, up 2.8% year on year. You see, mobile accounts for about half of the revenue in the gaming industry, with console gaming at 27%, PC gaming at 23%. But we do see declines year on year from console and PC as well. I suppose people will start having the conversation that PC gaming is dying. No, Swagbag, PC's not bigger, but there are some projections there. Some people think that I say some people. I believe Matt Piscatella for Circana is I think Matt believes that we'll see an increase in the console space, assuming GTA 6 releases, and then the release of new hardware from Nintendo, the Nintendo Switch 2. It says, BRAP, Cronenberg says, BRAP, a lot of the stats are going to be high next year once Switch 2 comes out, GTA 6. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. We have from Newzoo Box First Digital Games. So I don't think there's any surprise here. You'll see global physical game revenue is $8.5 billion, down about 10% year on year. Global digital game revenue is up 0.7% year on year at $175.8 billion. Yeah, and T-Rock, to your point, mobile also caters to a very indiscriminate customer. Different type of customer than you'll find on console gaming or consoles. Oh, by the way, do me a favor, everyone. Please hit that like button if you haven't done so already. All right. Best-selling games of the year in the United States per Circana. So it's kind of interesting because we typically see Call of Duty Black Ops 6 top of the list here, but that's not the case. EA Sports College Football 2025 is the best-selling game of the year in the U.S. per Circana. Remember, Circana is formerly NPD. Followed by Call of Duty Black Ops 6. Followed by Helldivers 2. I mean, look, Helldivers 2 is quite the story for Sony in terms of games as a service in 2024. Obviously, they had the disappointing release of Concord, which ended up being sent into the trash can. And the Carolina Hurricanes just scored a goal. So now the Caps are up 3-1 with 9 minutes and 32 seconds left in the third period. So the Caps don't blow this lead because they blew the lead against the Blackhawks the other night. Dragon Ball Sparking Zero is the fourth best-selling game in the U.S. And by the way, these are ranked by dollar sales. I should mention that as well. Then Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 is fifth. Madden is sixth. Seventh is EA Sports FC 25. Eighth is the EA Sports MVP bundle. That's interesting to note, the EA Sports MVP bundle, because that is the expensive bundle of Madden and EA Sports College Football 2025. So I think you have a premium game. I get it's dollar sales, but still charted at number 8. 9 is Elden Ring, and 10 is Dragon's Dogma 2 for Capcom. So Microsoft has 2 games that they publish, third-party games that they publish that are in the top 5. And with Sony publishing 1 game that's number 3, and EA having 4 games in the top 10 in the U.S. Yeah, it is the golden goose, swag bag. Let's see here. Sorry, guys. I'm just checking my messages here real quick. All right. United Kingdom, the UK best-selling games of the year. This is per Nielsen GfK, ranked by unit sales, retail only. So this is retail only. EA Sports FC 25 is number 1. Hogwarts Legacy. Really, by the way, I thought I haven't played Hogwarts Legacy. I think I want to say it's on sale on the PlayStation Store right now for like $20. Yes, it was $40. Compo Smurf. $40 for the $40 for Helldivers 2 at launch. All right, so Hogwarts Legacy, number 2, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, number 3, EA Sports FC 2024 is 4, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is 5, Super Mario Brothers Wonder is 6, Minecraft is 7th, Nintendo Switch Sports is 8th, The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom is 9, Super Mario Party Jamboree is 10. So a bit of a difference in comparison to the US. All right, in Japan, best-selling games of the year. This is by Famitsu. This is ranked by unit sales, retail only. Dragon Quest III HE2 remake is 1. That looks really good, by the way. Super Mario Party Jamboree. Don't be surprised. I mean, this isn't surprising to see pretty much Nintendo dominate the charts here in Japan. But Super Mario Party Jamboree is 2. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is 3. That game is selling gangbusters still. It sold like 80 million copies or something crazy. Super Mario Brothers Wonder is 4. Momotaro the Detetsu World by Konami is 5. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is 6. Animal Crossing New Horizons is 7th. Powerful Pro Yaku 2024-25 by Konami is 8th. Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom is 9th. Minecraft Switch Edition is 10th. Pretty much Nintendo Switch is dominating the charts here in Japan. All right, look, this is the mobile market per Sensor Tower. This is per data from the App Store and Google Play. The top game publishers. You'll see Tencent at number 1. Scapelli at 2. Activision Blizzard 3. PlayerX 4. NetEase 5. Supercell 6. Stream Games 7th. Take-Two Interactive 8. MiHoYo 9. Roblox Corporation is 10. The top games on mobile by worldwide consumer spending. Monopoly Go at $2.47 billion. Honor of Kings $2.35 billion. A Royal Match at 1.9. Roblox at 1.6. Last War Survival at 1.4. Candy Crush Saga at 1.3. White Hat Survival 1.2. Coin Master 1.1. Dungeon Fighter 1.08. Game for Peace 1.07 billion. All right, the top countries for mobile by worldwide consumer spending. You'll see the U.S. there at 24.8 billion. China second at 14.3. Japan at 10.7. South Korea at 4.6. Germany at 2.5. Taiwan at 2.5. The United Kingdom at 2.1. Canada at 1.5. France at 1.4. Australia at 1.3. What's going on, Logic?
What's on, Trent? How are you doing?
Doing well, man. Just I forgot the Game Industry Biz published their kind of their year in review for the market. Their year in numbers for 2024. So I'm just going over that right now. Did you get a chance? I don't know if you came across this article or not.
No, I did not.
Yeah, so this is I'll just scroll up here so you can see some of the numbers here. You see the global games market value here. Console games are down minus 4%. PC's down minus 0.2%, and then mobile's up 2.8%. Overall, global games market value, according to Newzoo, 184.3 billion, up 0.2% year on year. Any thoughts there, Hamp, on those numbers?
No, not right off the bat.
All right. Give me a sec here. I need to turn up I gotta turn up my volume here, Hamp. All right. All right. So I'm going over the mobile numbers right now, Hamp. I did talk about the top game publishers by worldwide consumer spending. Went over the top games by worldwide consumer spending, top countries by worldwide consumer spending in mobile, and now going to top game publishers by worldwide downloads. Azure Interactive Games, 1.2 billion. Supersonic Studios, 856 million. Say Games, 124 million. Miniclip, 695 million. Voodoo, 603 million. ABI Game Studios, 602 million. Outfit 7, 582 million. Embracer Group, 568 million. Baby Bus Group, 555 million. iCame Games, 523 million downloads. So the top games by worldwide downloads: Free Fire, Winterlands on 311 million. Roblox, 235 million. Subway Surfers, 197 million. Block Blast, 193 million. Ludo King, 184 million. Pizza Ready, 180 million. Offline Games, 127 million. Royal Match, 118 million. PUBG Mobile, 116 million. My Talking Tom 2, 107 million. And the top countries by worldwide downloads, mobile downloads: India at 7.85 billion. The US at 3.79 billion. Brazil at 3.68 billion. Indonesia at 3.08 billion. Russia at 2.2 billion. Mexico at 2.12 billion. Turkey at 1.6 billion. Vietnam at 1.5 billion. Philippines at 1.47, and Pakistan 1.21 billion. And those are the top countries by worldwide downloads for the mobile market. All right, we have the most covered games: Fortnite, Helldivers 2, Pal World, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Diablo 4, Star Wars Outlaws, Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree. My opinion, it should be number 1. Minecraft, World of Warcraft, Dragon Age: The Veilguard, League of Legends, Genshin Impact, Starfield, Stellar Blade, and Black Myth Wukong. Most covered companies: Xbox. Are you surprised by that, Ham? See Xbox number 1 as most covered?
No, I mean, they're the ones who have been through those changes this year. So
yeah, I would agree with that. PlayStation at number 2, 3 Nintendo, 4 Microsoft, 5 Sony, 6 Nvidia, 7 Ubisoft, 8 Electronic Arts, 9 Activision Blizzard, 10 Epic Games, 11 Square Enix, 12 Twitch, 13 Valve, 14 Bethesda, 15 Sega. These are the top 10 games on TikTok. Roblox,
So
1 4. Yeah, go ahead.
Going back to that list, like, what is the point in differentiating between Xbox and Microsoft?
That's a good question.
I mean, I would assume that this list is indicative of most covered companies in terms of gaming news, and so whether it's Microsoft or Xbox, what does it matter? It's still all centric to that business unit. So
yeah, and you'll see the same thing there for Sony, right? PlayStation and Sony.
yeah, I think at least one difference is, I want to say like a handful of the Sony acquisitions have been they've been Sony, and so I guess maybe from an acquisition perspective, when those acquisitions are made, they're made by the parent corporation, not by like the sole business unit. So I guess maybe that's the driver.
Yeah, it could be. All right. Top 10 I can't even talk. Top 10 games on TikTok. I said Roblox number 1, 2 Fortnite, 3 Minecraft, 4 Brawl Stars, 5 EA Sports FC 24, 6 Grand Theft Auto 5 Next Gen, PUBG New State, 8 EA Sports FC 25, 9 Genshin Impact, and 10 Elden Ring. And these are the most viewed game trailers. League of Legends. That's still here season 2024. 2 League of Legends Worlds 2024 Anthem. 3 Clash of Clans. 4 Poppy Playtime Chapter 3. 5 Call of Duty Black Ops 6. 6 MetaQuest 3. 7 MetaQuest 3. This is I should have mentioned MetaQuest 3 Productivity, MetaQuest 3 Fitness, and then 8 Call of Duty Black Ops 6 multiplayer reveal trailer. 9 Zenless Zone 0, and 10 Honkai Star Rail version 2.0. And these are the top YouTube influencers. Lena's Life. 1 point. I'm just going to go down the list. I'm not going to. Lena's Life, Cypher PK, Top 5 Gaming, Typical Gamer, Afma, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Compout, Techno Gamers, Dark Viper AU, Go to Gain Gaming, and Victor. So that is the.
I haven't looked at this. I don't recall going through this list before in past years, but interesting that they cover YouTube influencers versus Twitch influencers, and I wonder if that's indicative that the gaming numbers are higher on YouTube this year.
Yeah, that could be. So, all right. So that is Gaming Shootout Biz's year their year in numbers for 2024. All right, Ham. So I'm going to go to games that we're playing right now because we spoke earlier today, and you're playing a game that I consider my game of the year, although I haven't finished it, but still a great game. You're playing a little bit of Metaphor ReFantasio now. So what do you think? What are your thoughts so far? Well, I know what your thoughts are. We talked earlier, but let everyone know that's listening. Give me your input, your thoughts on this game.
Yeah, so I've just gotten past the intro, so all these are just kind of initial impressions. You and I talked earlier, and we talked about how, for me, I stayed off of it and didn't jump right on it because out of concern that it was going to be too derivative.
Yeah.
I played a little bit of Persona 3 Portable tail end of last year, beginning of this year. And then definitely played a good chunk of Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance this year. And so those experiences were fairly recent for me, and I was a little concerned that it was going to be a little too derivative of those two game styles. And the truth of the matter is that there's definitely obviously elements from those games in there, but it does enough. It's doing enough differently from those two that it doesn't feel like overly derivative. You can definitely see, like I said, the DNA there, but number one, it's way ultra violent. A lot of the Persona game violence and Shin Megami Tensei gets kind of blunted by the fact that you're always fighting kind of caricatures, and there's not a ton of violence that gets visited like directly on humans, at least from this content that I've been through. Whereas this one, like right off the jump, like there's it's very Game of Thrones like in a lot of ways. In the way that a lot of the populace is oppressed, in the way that there's clearly like class differentiation, and so there's the ideal that nobles are who they are and they can kind of treat anyone like however they want to be however they want to treat them. that there's rampant crime, and as in Game of Thrones, that often results in death. So there's elements of that. I really like the graphical presentation style. It seems like it's cell shaded, and heavily animated, but it there are some things that they're doing with lighting, maybe ray tracing, that make a lot of the distinct details of the I don't want to say painted backdrops, but a lot of the background detail kind of pop out from the landscape. And a lot of the movement is it feels like a little more articulated. So it's definitely kind of a level up from the graphic presentation of like I said, the Persona and Shin Megami Tensei games. So yeah, I mean, I'm having a good time with it. Trying to recently made some kind of changes in how I'm trying to go about gaming, and trying to be a little more attentive and a little more captured in the game I'm in at the time, rather than rotating so much. So it was kind of a good deep drink, so to speak, of the game, kind of pivoting into that stature. I will say, from a PC perspective, performance is fine. It's great. I mean, it on a Alder Lake based RTX 4070 machine, with 64 gigabytes of RAM, I'm getting 165 frames per second pretty consistently. I believe I have everything cranked up. Of course, that's totally unnecessary for this game and the style of game. But I will say, one thing that is a peeve of mine from a PC perspective is it doesn't have truly native ultra widescreen support, and I'm playing it on a 34-inch ultra wide 3440 by 1440p monitor. So that's a little bothersome. And I want to say Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance came out that way too, and then true ultra widescreen support was later patched in, I want to say. I could have that incorrect. But yeah, I'm having a pretty good time with it so far.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. You mentioned like the classism in that game, the racism. I mean, it's pretty. I mean, it's blatant, you know. But yeah, you're right. Like, it's interesting, like how visceral the violence can be towards the characters. You're right, because usually we talked about this earlier, like in Persona 5, like that's usually like reserved for by the way, that's a great energy drink. And I am super jealous, Logic, that you have one of those right now. Bro, I'm about to run to the store. I'm about to say, you know what, Logic, you take hosting duties, and I'll be right back with one of those drinks. They have a Swedish fish one that's pretty good. I don't know if you've had that one. So, but you're right, Logic, like just how visceral like the violence is in the game. There's a scene. I think you just said you just have you gotten to the main city? Is that kind of where you're at now?
Yeah, so there's a roadside scene kind of on the road to the main city that again takes that violence against human characters. And I mean, and I say human characters in terms of appearance, right? Like the conceit in this game, sorry, my microphone is twisted around here. The conceit in this game is that like the demons are referred to as humans. So when I say humans, I mean the people who actually look like humans or humanoid characters, not the actual demons in the game. But yeah.
But it's funny that they refer to the demons as humans. Like there's some I took that as like subtle messaging, as a, to me that kind of spoke to, because if you look at the way the humans are, because when they talked about humans and the fear they have for humans, right? And then you see the actual humans, they look like Picasso paintings. But I thought that the way they presented humans as this like evil entity and distorted in a way, to me that kind of like I took that, my interpretation of that presentation of humanity was that humans are evil. That there's this element of evil that humans have just naturally, right? I mean, we see that in the world here, like in real life, and I thought that was kind of a presentation. I thought how they presented humans in that light was to speak to the evil of humanity. That was how I interpreted that.
Yeah, it was definitely like a deliberate dig. I mean, it and there's elements of the story that talk about kind of extra dimensionality and it kind of frames it in this notion that almost like when you create your character, right, it differentiates that you give yourself a name, right, as an observer of the story, and then you give the protagonist a name, clearly differentiating that, you, the gamer, are observing the story through a lens into this other dimension, and then you are witnessing the life events, right, of this protagonist who is not you. So it kind of puts you in this fiction of like you're the watcher, watching this unfold way too. Um, but yeah, and then I think that I took it as, it the fiction of the game is assuming that you are a human, right? And in this dimension, humans are right are the great evil, right, of the land.
Yeah, that's a great point, Logic. I mean, that was kind of, and that's a complete different that's a different presentation of the of this game's story in comparison to like a Persona game, right? Although Persona does speak to the evils of humanity, but it isn't like the humans. I mean, it's I don't it, you don't have this like the characters you're fighting aren't these like twisted versions of humans, right? That's the big difference.
Yeah, it's kind of reminiscent of, and I'm sure, right, these particular type of nerds are not in our audience, but if you are a Joss Whedon fiction fan and watch like Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel, there's a story arc in Angel. I can't remember what season, maybe season 2, season 3, where they go to the extra dimensional called Pylea, and in Pylea, Angel, when he vamps out, right, becomes a vampire, his appearance in that dimension is different, right? It's like a demon. And so it's representative of that, like, again, kind of the similar thing here, that in that dimension, right, certain creatures, right, have different appearances and are actually, motivated by, in some cases, greater evils than they are in our dimension. So yeah, it's an interesting take. But it's and that's just, probably the main example that I witnessed so far. Again, I'm not that deep into the game, of like where this game, has a departure from, the storylines of Persona. Because I mean, Persona and Shin Megami Tensei, they take place in the same universe, don't they?
I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure on that. Yeah.
I thought they were shared or something like that.
Mhm.
That there's a tether between them,
There
but
might be. Yeah,
regardless,
I don't recall.
this game definitely, right. It is definitely like a fork out on its own.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, that was like I think one of my concerns going into the game was that it was going to be too similar to Persona 5. It wasn't going to be its own thing, right? Obviously, there's a lot of influence. There's some elements of Shigami Tensei and Persona in this game, but this game also does its own thing. And when I say does its own thing, and it's a part of that is its presentation of humanity, or these demons that are supposed to be humans, where the what you would think were human characters aren't really human characters. I think you say they were humanoids. Is that, I think that's how you described them. The characters you play with, the protagonist in the game.
In the well, no, well in the game there are 8 tribes, if I recall correctly.
Mhm.
This is in the opening narration. There's something like 8 tribes on 3 continents or something. There's some factor of 3 in there, but if I remember correctly, there's 8 tribes, and the tribes are equivalent to races. And so the race you are is a race called the Elda, who, and I don't know all of their like genetic makeup, but that person, that individual, that character in the game is humanoid in terms of, doesn't have well, I just mean humanoid in terms of like they're a biped, they walk upright, they look mostly like people. All of the tribal races, right, that are kind of the central races of the game, have some, genetic characteristic that is different. Some of them have pointy ears like elves, some of them have horns, and others have other characteristics. And I'm differentiating those, right, the cast of characters, that cast of characters, NPCs or whatever in the world. I'm differentiating those from the demons in the world who are humans, who look like, what did Hero Down Under say that they look like Salvador Dali paintings. So that's just what I mean.
Yeah, I think that's probably who I meant and not Picasso, but yeah, I think Salvador Dali would be the would probably be that is a better, more accurate description of the paintings, or the presentation of humans in this game. So, um, Hamp, so I'm actually playing, and I mentioned this to you earlier today. I did start playing Indiana Jones: The Great Circle. I'm a fan of the Indiana Jones movie franchise, and from what I played, I'm not too far into the game, but from what I've played, if you my initial impressions, if you're a big fan of Indiana Jones, and the stealth-like action adventure exploration games, you may like this. But especially if you're an Indiana Jones fan, you're probably going to like this game. I mean, I am really enjoying it so far. My only complaint, Logic, and gosh, I'm really jealous you have that Ghost energy drink. I wonder if we get Ghost to sponsor the show. My only complaint, Logic, is the first person perspective and the potato hands, as I call them. When the combat is very, I don't know, like that's the only way to describe it. I mean, you could pick up objects, you could pick up like broomsticks, bats, hammers, wine bottles, things like that you can use to take out enemies. But that is my only complaint, that it's not in the third person, it's first person perspective. You see his hands, and the combat, the fighting's a little, it's not, it kind of reminds me of that thumping motion Elden I would said Elden Ring, but we're not going to compare Elder Scrolls to Elden Ring because the combat is far superior in Elden Ring than Elder Scrolls. But that's kind of what it reminds me of a little bit. But it has all like look, and Troy Baker's voice performance of Indiana Jones. I mean, it sounds like Harrison Ford. It is spot on. It's done. I mean, this guy is super talented. I mean, I believe he did. Did he do the Joker in one of the Batman games? I want to say he did. And
the Arkham games was Mark Hamill, right?
Maybe it was Mark Hamill. I thought that Troy Baker had maybe done. Oh yes, Josh Ayers saying yes, in Batman Origins, Troy Baker did the Joker. But he's great in Death Stranding. We know he's the voice of Joel in The Last of Us. I can't remember what other games he's been in, but he really does sound like Indiana Jones, Hamp. I mean, it is spot on, and it's a great adaptation of the movie franchise from what I played so far. So I'm looking forward to playing a bit more of it. I'm playing it for free on Game Pass right now. So yeah, I'll be diving into a bit more during my time off during the holidays. But definitely want to get back to Metaphor ReFantazio because that's a great game. So Logic, is there anything else you're playing right now? Or is it pretty much Metaphor ReFantazio?
No, I got started in Black Ops 6 earlier this week, so I'm playing that on PC as well.
Playing against the sweats.
Yeah,
is it sweaty?
No, it doesn't seem to be.
Well, you got to play with slow-mo.
Well, I think I've mentioned before, like the thing that's weird to me is, as far as I know, I have crossplay turned on. There's no ability to turn it on or off or to toggle it otherwise in PC. And the only people I've been matchmade with is the entire lobbies have been all PC players, which is weird because what I've been saying this week is I need to pull down Modern Warfare 2. But I'm pretty certain the last few times that I played Modern Warfare 2 before I dropped off, I was being, I was in DEI lobbies with Xbox players and PlayStation players. So I don't think, as I talked to you earlier this week, there was this weird thing where if you were playing on PlayStation and PC and you had played on PlayStation last and you had turned crossplay off, and then you went and played on PC, where you can't toggle crossplay, would still be off, and on PC you would then only get matched with PC players. So I would actually have to log off. I would, exit out of the game, turn on my PlayStation 5, go into Call of Duty, flip crossplay back on, and then log out, and then go back to PC, and then I would be in intermixed lobbies again. So I was a little worried that before I got rid of my PlayStation 5 that maybe I played on PlayStation 5, maybe I played Modern Warfare 3 on PlayStation 5 last, but I'm pretty sure that wasn't the case. I'm pretty sure I did a healthy amount of playing on PC after I got rid of my PlayStation 5. So I don't think that's the case. I just think the matchmaking, that they've changed the algorithm some way this year, where there's for PC players, there's preference to match you with other PC players, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I haven't tried Black Ops 6 multiplayer yet. I might jump on. Maybe during the holidays, I might jump on. If you guys are on and playing, I might jump on. I would be more inclined to jump on. I don't want to go in there by myself without a team, without comms, right? I don't want to do that. That's not totally fun for me. But yeah. What do you think of the weapons in Black Ops 6 compared to Modern Warfare 3?
Well, I mean, for me, for my gameplay this year, right, I'm not a weapons whore like I have been in past years, where
Okay.
I'd be like super wrapped around the axe about weapons unlocks. And in fact, I was playing the other night, and I do that thing where when I'm about to hop off, I look at where I am on my next battle pass token, where I am on my next XP level. And usually in the past, I would also look at where I was on the next weapon level for unlock. And I would say, and if I were like more than 75% of the way there, I'd be like, okay, I got to play one more match, right, and get that next unlock. I didn't even look at the weapon. I just looked at XP and battle token. Because right before I fell off, I had kind of, done that grind as much as I wanted to for weapons, and kind of became disinterested. I had stopped. I wasn't even bothering to use camos anymore. After I'd unlocked a bunch of gold wraps for a bunch of weapons. And I was like, I'm just going to play for fun. I'm not going to be just super thirsty. So I haven't dug deep into weapons. In fact, right before I dropped off 2, I had also said, after spending like a year working on shotguns and pistols and sniper rifles and all these weapon classes that I don't really particularly like, and I have to play all these like certain modes that I don't particularly like, to like, because to level up snipers, like it's good to play domination and hardpoint, because you get a lot of people grouping around in fixed spots, right, and then you can like get up. So but like right before I dropped off, I was like, I'm done. Like I'm only playing with assault rifles, machine guns, marksman rifles, and SMGs. Like I'm no longer playing, because I mean I just went through, like it was great pain for me playing to like say unlock shotguns, because I would play on all small maps, and I would play a lot of modes. It would just be like vast chaos, because right, I didn't care about my KD ratio. All I cared about was getting the kills that I needed to for the weapons unlocks. So I just spent hours and hours and hours in small map mosh pits and stuff, and like I was like, I don't think I'm doing that pain anymore. So I got a weapons. I made my first custom loadout with the XM4, which is like the top, the assault rifle at the top of the list, and I'm like, I'll just work with the XM4, and then I'll make another. I used to like max fill out all of my custom loadouts and like rotate them, and like, yeah, we're just not living in Call of Duty like I used to anymore. It was interesting this year that I think this is all part of the the philosophy of like Phil Spencer and Xbox, to like try and make everybody equal in Call of Duty and all of that. And so it was interesting that in the past, PlayStation always got 12 custom loadouts, where PC and Xbox only had 10. So it was interesting that everybody has 12 custom loadouts this year. I'm sure that obviously there are other matters of equality, going on with, PlayStation no longer getting, or differentiated maps and extra stickers and cosmetics and things like that. So yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah. All right. That's interesting. Yeah. All right. So Logic, I want to go to let's see here. Let me pull this up here real quick. All right, here we go. I don't know if you saw this trailer here. Turn out the volume here. So the Compulsion Games put out a tweet. They showed Two Toe Tom, and I think I think we saw Two Toe Tom in the trailer they showed back this summer, if I'm not mistaken.
Summer Game Fest, but if I'm not mistaken, we saw him, but I want to say we didn't see her fight him. Is that right? I don't remember.
Yeah, we didn't. We saw her running away from him, if I recall correctly,
avoiding him. So I guess this trailer is the first time we're seeing combat in the game.
Yeah, so
like, at least get the mini boss or boss character.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I would watching this, I was like, okay, this game looks really interesting, and this trailer I thought looked pretty. This combat trailer looked pretty good. Yeah, I mean, you see the size of Two Toe Tom versus the main protagonist, but I just want to play this real quick because I thought this was a good looking trailer. Let's see here. Let's play this real quick. Of course, you know I'm getting Souls vibes here. So that was a trailer. They also showed, there was another trailer they showed today. I don't know if you saw this trailer, Logic. They showed off some of the platforming elements of the game here. I think they showed some of this at the Summer Games Fest too. Not this particular trail, but some of the platforming traversal elements of the game. But I gotta say, after watching that and some of the platforming here, I mean, again, this game did catch my eye at Summer Games Fest, but I'm definitely a little more interested now in this game. Like, I'm like, okay, this looks kind of promising, I think. And again, I know it's a very small window of what the game is or will be, but I'm liking what I see so far. Yeah, what about you, Logic? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been interested in this game, since it was announced, and that is kind of, driven out of my interest of the cultural vibe behind it. One of my favorite comics that I've read in the last, I want to say decade, but then I heard on a podcast the other day that it's been, I can't remember, like some ridiculous number of years since New 52. And I was like, shut up. I'm like, New 52 was just yesterday. So so I may be off on, so I'll say the last decade, but one of my favorite comic stories that has been written was Cullen Bunn's the something of Harrow County, which kind of sorry, I'm gonna look up the name. Maybe it was just Harrow County. I thought it was something longer than that, but it introduced a lot of the elements that are similar to this culture. It's kind of like the mythology around like haints and hauntings right in the deep south, and so because it has that crossover with that similar cultural content, that's had my interest from the beginning. The game itself, I've how I am with previews. I'll wait until it comes out, but so the trailers didn't, I mean, the bits that I saw there, of course I I'm not paying attention when trailers drop. The things there, the platforming, I have zero interest in. I still get pissed off every time I go back to Destiny 2 and have to do some dumb platforming thing. Right and I'm like, I'm here because it's a first person shooter.
So Logic, you must have loved Vault of Glass then.
I never did raids in Destiny 2 because I don't have friends. But I also like am still pissed off to this day when I think about the platforming in Doom Eternal. It just drove me nuts. So yeah, that, I mean, if that's just something that I have to do, then fine. But you know, and actually the boss battle, you know, again, where I am with boss battles, you know, I'll do them because they have to be done. If it dips its toe anywhere in the direction of being a Souls game, then, you know, I'm out. So we'll just see how it continues to develop. I'm interested that, you know, the team is just taking a different creative vector than we see from most video games that come out, you know, that it's not kind of on the beaten path in the mainstream. So I have high hopes for it from that perspective. So we'll see how it comes out. I've got to be honest, right at this point in this day and age, I do have bias on my expectations for any Xbox game because I have to wonder and question whether or not the game gets pushed out the door on the basis of it needs to feed the subscription service with a steady battle rhythm. So, you know, we'll see how that goes. But, you know, I have high hopes for it and high interest in it and hope it sticks the landing. Yeah,
no, I agree. And I hope, to your point, it's not rushed out because they have to feed the beast of Game Pass. So hopefully that's not the case. They've gotten I forget the last couple releases. I mean, obviously Call of Duty's landed in Game Pass. That's been a good get. That's, I'm not surprised by the quality of Call of Duty per se. Indiana Jones though came out. That's been a good get for Game Pass. So we'll see. We'll see if they stick the landing here with South of Midnight. I do want to move on to some Nintendo Switch 2 news here. And, you know, Logic, I don't know if you saw, we were going over the list about like the top selling games in Japan. Nintendo pretty much ran away with pretty much all that. Like the majority of the top 10 games sold in Japan were Nintendo games, believe it or not. So, I do want to go to Nintendo Switch 2 news here. I need to pull this up here. Here we go. All right. WCCF Tech, Nintendo Switch 2 dock may have been designed to let the console run faster, but will reportedly only output 4K resolution at 30 FPS. And a Reddit user by the name of Next Handheld allegedly has had access to the new console by Nintendo. I don't know if I believe this, man. I feel like Nintendo's very tight-knit, very good at stopping leaks. But anyhow, so this person allegedly has had access to the new console by Nintendo, has revealed some additional information on the system, as well as on the dock and Joy-Con controller, while also providing proof that their information has merit. Some proof, which includes pictures of the system's dock and the inside of a possible controller rail, has also been provided to The Verge, which concluded that the leaker may be legit after talking with them as well. Article goes on to read, while most of the information revealed by Next Handheld falls in line with other rumors and leaks that have been circulating online the past few weeks, some of the information on the Nintendo Switch 2 dock, which was never shown in any of the previous leaks, is new. The picture of the dock shown to The Verge shows that it has big feet around the back so that it can be placed horizontally without blocking a potential set of vents. While no one would position the dock this way, the seat may be placed in case the dock is accidentally knocked over to prevent overheating. And if vents are included in the dock, as the leaker seems to have confirmed, albeit cryptically, then there's a very good chance the console will run faster in dock mode. In addition, the leaker revealed that the dock is rated for 60 watts, while the Nintendo Switch 2 for 45 watts values that are considerably higher than the original model, and that would only output 4K resolution at 30 frames per second, which would definitely be disappointing if true. As mentioned above, Next Handheld also revealed plenty of other information on Nintendo, on the Nintendo Switch 2. You can find the summary information shared by the leaker on the Nintendo Switch 2 subreddit. Despite the proof the leaker has provided, we strongly suggest taking all the new information with a huge grain of salt. So, what say you, Logic?
As far as
this particular rumor, the output of 4K resolution, 30 FPS. Some people saying that's disappointing. I don't know. I mean, aren't most games 30 FPS on Nintendo Switch now?
Well, I mean, I can everybody obviously hopes. I mean, everybody who's in the addressable market for Nintendo Switch obviously hopes for it to make a leap. I know that despite people being fans, that there's a bucket of fans who still lament Xbox, still lament Nintendo like stepping out of the lane of being worried about high performance consoles. So I get that. Does Nintendo make the type of games that need to be 4K 60? I don't know. The information about the vents on the dock, I think is a plus, right? Going about trying to find innovative ways to help manage TDP, particularly in a handheld, is a good thing, and may have knock-on effects to this burgeoning handheld market that may exist for PCs as well. Hearing that the dock outputs at 4K 30, I don't know that would be something I would be personally wrapped around the axle about. If you don't like that, then you can play in handheld mode, or you can get another a different handheld device, I would guess. So I just don't know how impactful that'll be.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be. I mean, like 4K, yeah, but I guess that's nice for maybe some of the non-Nintendo games, but I don't know if that's I don't know if that necessarily would be a deal breaker for me if it's 4K 30 docked. I'd like maybe if there was options outside of 4K 30, like if there was a 1080p 60 FPS mode, that would be nice. But yeah, I don't. This to me at least would be a deal breaker. I don't look at the Nintendo Switch device as a high-end console performing device. I understand what I'm getting when I buy a Nintendo Switch, and it's typically not going to be all the bells and whistles that I would see like on a higher end console.
I mean, what would be nice is if the dock could handle different output resolutions, like if it could do 1440p, at a higher frame rate. That I think that would be good for some people.
I would agree.
Yeah, there are some people who definitely game primarily on PC, but also have a Nintendo Switch and the ability to hook it up to their monitors and output at 1440p. I think would be a good get. If it could do 1080p at above 60 frames per second, I think that would also be a good get. Any notion of VRR would be helpful. So there's other possibilities maybe in what this dock can provide that will hopefully compensate for any lament over 4K 60.
I mean, VR would be a nice feature. I just don't see Nintendo doing that because I feel like Nintendo's. I don't know. I don't want to say they give you the bare bones basics, but I feel like they do. With and I get it. Like it's not a. They're not putting out like high performance hardware. They're not looking to compete with the PlayStations or the Microsofts anymore in that space. Although, to your point, it would be a nice option. But I'd be very surprised if they have that kind of feature set built into the Nintendo Switch 2. Could be wrong.
Well, to me, it's more a matter of what NVIDIA does, right? So it's more a matter of what the baseline chip's capabilities are, and then where Nintendo asks them to back off of that, right, in order to keep costs down. So when I say having VRR would be a nice get, it's based on a presumption that as NVIDIA moves that technology stack forward with that chip, it would seem that VRR would be something that would be available, right, in that generation of chip. But we'll have to see.
Yeah, what's going on, Slow-Mo? Slow-Mo is saying, "Yo," that means Slow-Mo is in the chat here, or not in the chat, but in the waiting room. So let's bring Slow-Mo in here. Slow-Mo,
What's up?
what's going on, sir? How are you?
Pretty good.
What do you think
complain. I was supposed to be
ahead,
doing
man.
work tonight, and that got
Work?
canceled. Yeah.
You mean like
Things
put
are
in work in
weird.
COD? Is that kind of what you or
Not
putting in
exactly.
work
No,
in
actual professional. I get paid my job kind of work. Every now and then I gotta remotely do some work for routers, switches, that kind of stuff overseas, and it got canceled. So here I am.
All right. Well, great to have you here, Slomo. I don't know if you heard us discussing the latest Nintendo Switch 2 rumors, that it could be 4K 30 in dock mode. Yeah, what's that laugh for, Slomo?
I mean, just Nintendo, you know.
Why are they calling you the professional hater in the chat, by the way?
Oh, that's Glacy, and he always thinks I'm hating, but I just tell the truth, you know. And some people can handle it, and some people can't. You know, when they can't handle it, it's hating. You know, it is what it is.
That sounds like the speak from that sounds like how a hater speaks. By the way, oh, people just can't handle it. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, you know, that's look. Sometimes I do hate, but I don't think people always know my motivation. So whatever. Anyway, no, you know, 4K 30. Why 30? You know what I'm saying? Like why can't we just get 1440p 60? I'm sick of 30, and 30 frames per second should not be a part of our options any further. Yeah, at least it's not for me. You know, wherever I play, I'm trying to play it at 60 or above. But considering that people have the rumors have said that the Switch 2 power-wise would be on the level of like a PS4 Pro, that, you know, a 4K 30 mode does kind of make sense, considering that's what you were getting, like a dynamic checkerboard 4K 30 frames per second from the PS4 Pro. So it kind of makes sense. Although I would really hope that Nintendo would make sure that there are multiple options for people now that you have hardware that's a bit more capable. So not just 4K 30, but a 1080p 60 would be nice. You know, especially considering you're going to have a smaller screen. There'll be a lot of people that's going to play it in handheld mode. You don't need 4K visuals for a screen that small. With 8-inch screen, who needs 4K for that? You don't really need that.
That's actually a great point. In handheld mode, you wouldn't need that. Yeah.
So I think that would be good. I mean, I plan on getting one. Whether I get it at launch or not, I don't know. It just kind of depends on the games they have available. If they got a Fire Emblem coming out, I'm getting one, and God help anyone that's in my way. You know, considering it's going to be a hot commodity, like I might have to put on the Black Air Forces and the ski mask and do it that way. I don't know, but I'm gonna make sure I'm getting one.
You're gonna get it the fast way, the ski mask way. Come on, man.
Hey, man, you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes. But no,
someone's gonna go to Iverson Mall and be sitting out in the parking lot. Is that still around?
In the parking lot with those fatty ass snickerdoodles, just sitting there, just waiting for somebody to come through.
Yeah, exactly.
No. I think it's gonna sell like crazy. Clearly, it's Nintendo is in a good cadence, and I think they're very smartly did not veer too far away from what made the previous Switch successful. Something that I think was probably a concern of the previous CEO was that in their pursuit for originality and being unique, they would just forego everything that was successful with their previous generation and do some off-the-wall weird crap with some off-the-wall weird controller that really nobody but their own first party cares that do any kind of development on.
Like cardboard, yeah.
Right. And so I think now their new CEO is more along the lines of, I like money, and we're making money doing this, and we're going to keep making money doing that. Just keep the good times rolling. So the new Switch should just be a whatchamacallit, that those what are the side things? I can't, Joy-Cons. Joy-Cons Yeah, the Joy-Cons.
we talking about
no
gaming? Or we
stick
talking about
drift.
ladies? What are we?
Hey, we can talk about both. No, but the Joy-Cons, I think apparently they're trying to make sure those don't have stick drift. So they may be Hall effect thumbsticks in those Joy-Cons. That's smart, avoid that lawsuit.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be magnetically connected, which is also smart, to kind of keep things from breaking springs and stuff like that had in the original Switch. You just basically are doing a better enhancement of what you did before, which, I mean, if I was in their position, I would do that and just make sure I got the content to that people want. Is rumored Mario Kart 9. Perfect. Mario Kart 8 sold like 60 million copies on the Switch. Keep it going.
No, I think it's more. I think it's more than that now.
Really?
I think so. I thought it was like 70, 80 million or something.
Jeez.
I'd have to go back and look. I don't remember. I don't remember the exact numbers, but I feel like it was higher than 60. I could be wrong, but I feel like it was higher than 60.
You make a Mario Kart 9 that is basically the foundation is still the same, but you got different tracks, a couple of more goofy Nintendo characters in there, and some other little, changes here and there, and you're going to get people. You're going to people buying that like the same way they bought Breath of the Wild at launch, where it's flying off the shelves, and everyone's getting a Switch 2 and a Mario Kart 9, like it's a free pack in, but it's not, because you're spending an additional $70 because it's going to be $70. They're going to bump that up. But no, I can't wait to see when they show it next month. I think it's supposed to be January where they do the announcement.
That's the rumor. That's the rumor.
Yeah, and then they launch in March where everyone tries to get one. So
yeah, no, yeah. Go ahead, Lodge. You going to say something?
No, I mean, I guess I'll put my poker chip down that scenario is exactly what we predicted in our closeout episodes on Enough to Keep Going. Was that that they would follow the exact same pattern that they did with the Switch, right? That we would all come back from the holidays, be right around CES. They would do the same kind of Man of Steel. I really realized that a big part of the problem was it was an effort to kind of do World's Finest, right? They kind of tried to do the Trinity, even though World's Finest is mostly Superman and Batman, but there are issues that come along here and there that's the Trinity, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. But then you try and do that, and then you try and can it with Doomsday, which is just a very like hyper specific story arc in the DC universe. And I'm like, I'm not sure why you try and like pull that off, and then you do all this other stuff, along with it. But I'm like, it would have been very easy to do a Trinity movie. It would have been super easy to pick the tier 1 kind of Justice League characters, right? But he grabs Guy Gardner, Hawkgirl, Maxwell Lord's in the movie, right? Which is a great, in my opinion, an underused character on the big screen. Like it has a great story arc that goes along with that. Completely misused in the Supergirl TV series, which otherwise I really liked. Metamorpho in the did
you see Metamorpho there at the end?
Well, you told me it was Metamorpho. I was just talking to.
I don't know if you saw it there in the trailer.
Yeah, I was just talking to. I can't remember who I was talking to in the last month, but I said I'm good with movie, because I think we were talking about going, whether or not it was worthwhile to still go to the theater, and I was saying I'm good. In the last 20 years or so, I have seen every big major franchise that as a kid I was like, I would love for that to be made a movie. I can't wait for that to come to the big screen. Like all the years I spent saying they'll never do that. We'll never have the technology. They'll never be able to do it right. And Dune's been brought to the big screen like 4 times. But Dune has been done. Lord of the Rings has been done. We never in my life really honestly did I think we would ever see anything like the Infinity Saga. And even though I think the Marvel Universe MCU is kind of played by now and is very near to being washed, the Infinity Saga to me is peak cinema execution, just in terms of all of the financial, production, contractual things that had to be done to string that together to make that happen in a compressed time frame, where obviously the big problem with comic book movies is actual human actors age, right? They get older, right? I mean, Chris Evans being able to quite frankly, just being able to maintain that level of fitness to play Captain America for a 10-year period is pretty damn incredible. So, I was saying, I think this was over Thanksgiving. I was saying, I'm good. Like, there's nothing else that I can think of from my childhood that I'm like, I wish that would be made like a movie. Like, everything has been done. And I just kind of given up that like the DC universe would ever get done right. But, here we are potentially on the precipice of, at least for one movie, them actually pulling a thing together. So, it's a pretty exciting time.
Yeah, I'm hyped for it, and I think Gunn was a good choice for DC for once, and bringing someone who could bring a vision in, like their own kind of like Feige vision towards figuring out how to make it work, because them trying to be the MCU before failed. It failed because they didn't spend the kind of time that Feige and the MCU spent on building up their universe. Putting time to let the audience understand who these characters are. Who, by the way, those characters themselves weren't exactly like the cream of the crop from Marvel before they started the MCU. I mean, like, a lot of those characters were like, Iron Man was a C plus B lister that was an alcoholic and leader of West Coast Avengers. The Avengers themselves weren't even like considered to be like slander. A great team.
Slander.
I ain't slander. This is the truth, man. The Avengers were okay. They weren't like, nobody was checking for them like that. Like, even Fox wanted the Fantastic Four before them. So it's just.
God. They were definitely not at their peak. Like, if you go back to the 80s, it was kind of Avengers peak. And then when Chris Claremont comes in with the X-Men, Bill Sienkiewicz, on the New Mutants, you really get like a big rise of the X-Men property. And quite frankly, when Fox got the X-Men, that was what was considered to be marquee.
Right.
Yeah.
And Fox shat the bed, I thought, with X-Men. I mean, just
absolutely.
Terrible. I mean, the
cartoon, amazing. Like, the movies,
yes, but the way they portrayed the apocalypse, and I remember Fall of the Mutants, in the 80s. What was that? Late 80s, I think. Fall of the Mutants and the Apocalypse and the Four Horsemen. Death, who's Angel. I mean, like, their portrayal of that was just terrible. I mean, it was terrible. I hope someone grabs that IP or that I hope they reboot that movie and just do it right.
Well, that's what the franchise was actually on the rise, right? Because I know there are people who don't like the original. Who was the guy who did X-Men, the original X-Men franchise, the producer or director or whatever? I forget who it was, but I thought X-Men 1 and 2 was good. X-Men 3 is I believe one of the all-time worst movies ever made. X-Men 3, Sam Raimi, Spider-Man 3. And I feel that way because those movies had such huge potential. And like you said, BRAP, they I call them kitchen sink movies. They just, at that third movie in the franchise, it seems like they think like there's not going to be another movie, which might be valid. But as a result of that, they go, okay, let's go dig everything up. Like, the number of villains in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 3 is ridiculous. And the fact that it set a template for Garfield Spider-Man 2, like, just ridiculous. So, but going back to what Brad was saying about Apocalypse, like, the X-Men franchise had tanked, in my opinion, with X3, and then had kind of resurged right when they brought McAvoy and Fassbender in, and then they just tanked. Like, with what was
those were good X-Men movies. I thought.
Yeah, what was the first one?
Yeah.
Something
Was it First
or
Class?
whatever.
First Class.
Right.
Yeah, First Class. Yeah.
First Class. Most
Yeah, that was actually
well
was
received,
decent.
and then they completely tanked it. With
My biggest issue with First
Yeah.
Class, and it's funny enough that like the guy that's playing Mr. Terrific is in First Class as
he is, as
Darwin, which is a great character. He's a African American mutant who basically his name is Darwin because his mutant power is to adapt to any environment, anything essentially, and survive. And he's literally in the comics had like situations where it's just like no one would ever survive, and somehow he does. And they kill him in the most basic way in that movie, and I'm just like, y'all just couldn't help yourself.
They did him no justice. Like literally died like 5 seconds of the movie.
He was like the Steven Seagal of executive
stupid.
decision.
Yeah.
It was so dumb.
Yeah, let me grab this super chat real quick from Metro Knight. Metro Knight with a $5 super chat says, "Bro, I have to take breaks from my main YouTube account to get away from all the complaining. It's really sad." Well said, sir. It is sad. People can enjoy things in life. I don't like, how do these people get, I'm trying to figure out how these people function in real life. Like when there's real life shit to worry about. Like if you're upset over a trailer and how Superman's punching glass, what happens when real life shit happens to you? That's what I want to know.
So who's it? Eric. Yeah, Eric, this is the problem. And I agree. Days of Future Past was actually, I thought was a great movie too. So it was First Class, Future Past, and Apocalypse.
Yeah.
This is why Apocalypse is such a travesty. But really, what pisses me off about Apocalypse more than anything, and I'm like, didn't you guys just fix all this with Future Past? Like,
they could never be consistent. That was their biggest issue.
Yeah, they could be consistent. Yeah, but the adaptation of Apocalypse was just so bad. I mean, I remember like people joking around saying he looked like a Mighty Morphin Power Ranger, like enemy. Like it was so bad. It was like, what do you got? Like,
the guy Ivan Ooze from the Power Rangers. That's what he looked like.
He looked like Ivan Ooze.
Good grief!
And I'm just like,
how did you not figure that out? That people would make that connection. It's funny.
Like the Dark Phoenix. I mean, like, I'm just like, you guys, like, like the Fall of the Mutants is one of my favorite story arcs in the X-Men comics. And I mean, because it went across like it was the X-Men, it was oh my god, who were the other who else was involved in Fall of the Mutants in the comics? X-Men. Oh my god, there was a younger group of mutants that I can't remember now in the comics. But yeah, I mean, it was great.
The New Mutants, X-Force, Generation X.
It
was X-Force or the New Mutants. I think it was New Mutants.
Yeah, I think it was New Mutants. X-Force is like the Spec Ops.
X-Force was they were the continuation of the New Mutants team. They took the same Mutants Cable, turned them into like a little military strike force kind of deal. Yeah.
And I don't like how they've like the adaptation of Phoenix either. But anyhow, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, the Wolverine movies were okay. I thought
I think you can characterize the movies, the bulk of the movies like that. But I think you have to say, when you talk about Logan, I think you have to talk about that. That is another instance of peak X-Men cinema. Like that was, to me,
that was good.
Transcended a comic book movie.
That was good. Yeah, that was good. And I've loved the adaptation of Deadpool. I think that's been great. I'd like to see a proper Punisher movie too, though. I haven't been a big fan of the Punisher movies, so that's an evil laughter, Slimo.
I mean, we'll see. What they do to bring the X-Men in. I feel like somebody said, I think maybe Brian East or somebody said, what they'd love to see is like a comic accurate X-Men movie. It's weird to me because I feel like, quite honestly, I remember, when the X-Men, like I'll call them Wave 2, stories, right? When they brought in, I think it was I can't remember who the first Indian character was that they brought in.
Was it Forge?
What's
No.
that?
Was it Forge?
No, because then his brother joins later, I think. So I want to say Thunderbird.
Thunderbird and Warpath and Warpath.
Yeah, so Thunderbird, when they brought Wolverine in, Banshee, but like the whole like international, Peter Rasputin, they brought in that whole international wave, and I remember that like a key storytelling element of the X-Men was they were trying to talk about racism, right? And I just, quite honestly, I don't know. Like I've thought the Peter Parker story for a very long time is no longer relevant, right, in current American society. Like it's about a nerd who gets beat up in high school, and I'm like, dude, nerds rule the earth now. Being a nerd has become cool. Like I mean, when I was growing up, the Peter Parker story was relevant. I don't know that the Peter Parker story is relevant anymore because kids can go to school and they can talk about video games, right? So
in comics,
in the same way, I wonder if the X-Men story in the way it was told in the 60s and 70s is still relevant. And what I do say, I feel like if they're going to bring them in, I think, a neat way to bring them in would be, House of M. I think that's the event. I quite honestly don't know all the big X-Men events because I wasn't super huge. I was an Avengers guy. I was not a big X-Men fan, but whatever the story is that intermixes, the story of Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, which obviously will be tough now that he's dead in the MCU, with Magneto and some of the storyline.
You mean House of M when she altered reality multiple times?
Yes, yeah, and I know that there's all types of weird, like I think there's a storyline where like she kills like all the mutants or whatever, like so.
She says so. It went like this. She started to have she was on the Avengers, as you know, and then her power started to kind of go crazy. She couldn't control them. I think she was also being controlled by some like other entity called Chaos or whatever. But she ended up killing her husband Vision and Ant-Man. I think she killed both of them.
Well, there was a part of that storyline too where she, if I'm not mistaken, she was in this. They did this in kind of WandaVision where she didn't actually have kids, but she was convinced that she had kids and that they had been killed. If I'm not mistaken. Again, I'm not a person who's read a lot of these thoroughly.
Yeah. And then so the X-Men, because she's a mutant, the X-Men got involved and they were like, yeah, we need to put her down like a dog. Essentially, the Avengers was like, nah, don't do that. Meanwhile, like Magneto was like trying to take care of her. He's freaking Magneto, right? So all that said, Xavier was trying to keep her from going crazy, and she ends up just basically saying, you know what? Let's just reverse things. Let's make everyone who is a human a mutant, and everyone who is it was like she reversed the like percentages where like if it was like 3% of the planet were mutants, it became 3% of the planet are humans. And then she gave all the heroes that she knew their happy ending. Like Peter Parker got Gwen Stacy and stuff like that. But it was like really like a paper thin kind of reality. And once they kind of woke up from it, they were all very pissed at her. And then there's huge, of course, it's a superhero book. So it was a big old fight. Right. And then she just goes at the end, you know what? No more mutants. She just and then she in reality, she like not fake reality. She literally like took away the majority of the mutant population's powers, which got them all kind of killed because they all had a lot of enemies and stuff. It's pretty good. I was kind of hoping they would do something like that with WandaVision, where it would be like the reverse, where she would like create mutants by accident or something, and that's how we would get the X-Men into the MCU. But yeah, it didn't happen.
Yeah. All right. Well, I do. Yeah, go ahead.
I apologize for the tangent. I'll now return you back to your regularly scheduled BRAP programming.
No, it was a great conversation around comics. No, I love it. All right. So Logic, this article and Slow-Mo, this article actually was kind of interesting. Only 50% of all, this is PCgamer.com. Only 15% of all Steam users time was spent playing games released in 2024. This is an article by Robert Zach.
That doesn't shock me at all.
Well, I mean, and it kind of made me think about when people say, because you'll often hear people say things like, "Oh, Sony's not releasing games day and date on PC; they're leaving money on the table." Well, I looked at this article. I'm like, maybe there's a reason why. Only 50% of all Steam users' time was spent playing games released in 2024. That means new games released in 2024. This is per Steve's end of year review of what we play and how we play. And how we play makes for some interesting. I'm gonna get that's the title, but so our Steam year review always throws up some interesting numbers. And with 2024 stats out, again, reading the article here, it prompts some interesting reflections on how we game, both individually and mass. Really the interesting stuff is on a macro scale, as it shows that Steam users spent 15% of their total playing time in games that launched in 2024. 40% of total playing time on Steam was spent on games released in the last 1 to 7 years, while a sizable 37% of time was spent in games that have been out for 8 years or more. So again, maybe think about kind of that conversation or that noise that we hear of people saying, "Oh, Sony's leaving money on the table. It makes sense to go day on PC." Well, does it? If you see that 15% of the Steam community, Steam being the largest of the storefronts on PC, if only 50% of those users are actually playing new games. So, Logic.
What's 15% of the total number of Steam players that are out there? I mean, I think that would probably be, if they got those numbers, if they were able to capture that, like say with how Black Myth Wukong was successful on PC.
That's a good point.
Elden Ring, then they probably be like, yeah, well, mission accomplished. It's just you look at the weekly active users or monthly active users on Steam, and you see like Counter-Strike up there, and you see games that's been out like for even longer periods of time than like Fortnite and Minecraft. That's dominating the console arena side of things, which I mean, it's not as those games aren't as old as they are on Steam, but they're pretty significantly old, and the console has kind of similar issues, where people are playing the black hole games. Like right now, I'm doing this show and I'm playing a black hole game right now. I'm playing Marvel Rivals, which it has come out this year, but this is the kind of game that like it's designed to get people to be playing this for years and years and years, the way Overwatch, which is copies off of pretty well, has had people playing it for years and years and years. So I think it's an issue that all platforms have. But I think the reason why Sony hasn't done day and date on PC is they just don't have the development pipeline to do that right now. Like they don't, look at how their games come on PC right now. It's Nixxes and Jetpack Interactive. They're doing the ports, and they do an excellent job with those ports. But they're only 2 support studios. Like they can't do all the games for all of SIE. It's just not possible. And those studios, in order to go day and date, those studios will have to completely change how they do their development of their games and start, actually doing it in-house. And either that's something that's not in Sony's plans in the future, or it's not something that they can do right now, and they'll ramp up to that at some point, but just not anytime soon,
I mean,
You're muted. You're muted.
Sorry, yeah. Real quick, totally off subject here. I just saw something come across my timeline on Twitter, and I got to share it. This is, oh my gosh, this is what's his name? Doomsayer, shooting the shit. This is his. This is what. Did you do this logo? Did you do this logo for him?
No, I didn't, but that's pretty funny.
I thought it was pretty funny, so I just wanted to throw that out there. But yeah, that didn't mean to derail the conversation here. But Logic, Logic. What are your thoughts about these numbers?
I mean, I still think it's I mean, the reason Sony doesn't do it is it's heavily based on, market dynamics, and it's heavily based on their brand, and what their OKRs are, what their attempted strategy is. Like I still, um there's still a significant number of PC gamers who buy PlayStation 5s or buy PlayStations, because that's where they can gain access to the exclusives. And there are lots of PC players who they're they're fine waiting, but they don't want to wait if they don't have to. Um, and so again, that's your. I think there's been a lot of conversation, including with prominent YouTubers and big podcasts who talk about this. It's okay for PlayStation to go day and date, and people fearing that by doing so, people will start buying PCs, and that's a non-issue. I don't think that's ever been the issue. The issue is about the people who are already PC gamers who also buy PlayStations, who will stop buying PlayStations if there's no need for them to. Because when those people stop buying PlayStations, you don't just lose the game sales on console. There are lots of those part of that market who buys the game on console, but will still double dip and buy the game when it becomes available on PC and is available at higher resolution, higher frame rates, better textures, right? DLSS, all of these other, whistles and stuff on top of it, and you're going to lose that as well. So you might not just be losing one game sale, you might be losing 2 game sales. On top of that, again, people get immersed in ecosystems, and every person that you sell a PlayStation to, right, is a potential person who they come home, they turn the thing on, the store is right there at their fingertips, right? It encourages them to buy additional titles, it encourages them to buy accessories, it encourages them to participate in the services. So when you pull people out of that veil and they exit your ecosystem, it's not the same thing as them buying a game on PC. I don't give a crap about like somebody's, a company's ecosystem on PC, because I can go and I can buy their individual game on Steam and I don't have to participate in their ecosystem whatsoever. So you don't have the traction and the hooks into those gamers the same way you do as when they're on your hardware. So, and then, these numbers, and I respect definitely what Slow-Mo said, that 15%, could still be a large pool. The stats on Steam are that, only a very small number of games actually break more than 100 grand. So that's a small pool. You're in that pool, even if you're on that 15%, you're just in an environment that, in my opinion, is more highly competitive than you are on console, because you have more titles coming out. You're going to be PlayStation, so you're going to be putting games out at $70. You're going to require a PlayStation Network login, right? You've got lots of things working against you in a more highly competitive market against the other titles that are available. And even in those top 15%, right, that are the games of that current year, there's still a bucket of them that are also still games as a service, right, that are going to attract players who are looking for that long-term play, long-term investment. So, I just think that overall, in addition to absolutely the things that Slow-Mo said, that this goes back to what we always talk about, that the juice isn't necessarily worth the squeeze, right? That making the investment, everybody seems to have this mentality that like it's a press of a button to port games. You don't just rename the file to, .pc or .xbox, right? And then you get a port. There's work that's involved. And as I always talk about, PlayStation's foundational abstraction layer is an OpenGL derivative that's an in-house proprietary abstraction layer. It is not DirectX. So when they move to PC, they have to do that work to mount up on that different abstraction layer to access hardware and work with a different bundle of APIs. So, I mean, there are lots of reasons to not do it. There are far more reasons to not do it than there are about simply, they're leaving money on the table. It's an incredibly simplistic argument that rips all of the nuance and sophistication out of the discussion of software development. There are people, those of us who spend a very long time in school and a very long time in the profession to actually do this for a living. And it's amazing to me that there are people who try and drain all of that domain knowledge out of the conversation to try and make a simple binary argument that doesn't hold any water, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, logic. That is the MO of Twitter. Oversimplifying, like seemingly everything.
I love Hero Down understatement. Ignorance is free.
Ignorance is free, and so is social media. From down under, Falky's joined us. Falky, hey, it's good to see you because that means humanity has made it till Saturday.
Yes, it's a lovely Saturday. Busy Saturday.
Yeah, a busy Saturday it is, yeah. So, but no, Falky, thank you for joining us. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Apologies. I didn't really. I was hoping you'd still be going, but realizing you'd be going for 2 hours, I feel like I'm jumping in at the back end of a very, very good show, and I don't know if I'm going to be much use to you, but here I am.
Well, now, I mean, your timing's perfect, Falky, because we did get some news. Sony, we'll move to Sony here. Sony becoming the largest shareholder in FromSoftware's parent company, Kadokawa. And I saw some people being angry with you about this, Falky. I understood what you were tweeting. Some others didn't. Perhaps reading comprehension is lacking. But here we go. Sony become the largest shareholder in FromSoftware parent company Kadokawa. So not necessarily a buyout of sorts or a takeover, but just an increase in shares. Sony will hold a 10% stake in Kadokawa in addition to its 14.09% stake in FromSoftware.
Yep.
So what say you, Falky?
I've enjoyed my victory lap on Twitter for the last couple of days. And a few people need to learn how to read and understand the context of what's been said and how it's been said. But most specifically, those who jump on and go, this is just the first step, and the Sony saying that this is all they're doing is not true, and they could change their mind next week. Well, they could, but the point I was making was this was always as clear as bones intent from the start if you knew how to read it. And other people that I talk to that are in the mergers and acquisitions and business in the back end, particularly in the industry alone, we're all saying the same thing. It's a really weird timing. It's really weird that the story's coming out. It's really odd. There's plenty of smoke here, but it doesn't, I've said on a few other shows, it doesn't sound like the conversations they're having don't sound like we're going to buy you out, because there was just the tone wasn't there. The wording wasn't there. They weren't even talking about a buyout value for most of the conversations that I got made privy to. So in Kadokawa, when they put the statement out initially after the story broke, and they said, Sony sent us a letter about acquiring shares. We haven't made a decision. We'll see where it goes. That's all they've done. They've acquired some more shares. That's what I said from the start. This is most likely just going to be holding their position and helping out where they can, because it doesn't make sense for Sony to fully acquire Kadokawa. Buying FromSoft and SpikeChunk, different story. But Kadokawa itself, if people took 10 minutes to Google search and read the last quarterly reports, anyone with half a brain cell would have seen it was not a fit with Sony, and there was no point in spending that much money to just blow it up the wall. Sony don't make those sort of stupid investments. They don't have a history for it. And now that the bean counters, not the ops guys, are running the show over at Sony, they're certainly not going to piss money up the wall on things that don't make sense. So, the tweet that I did put out, or the X post that I did put out, that was saying, Sony very crystal clear said, and I'm reading it straight from their release here. At this time, Sony does not plan to acquire additional Kadokawa shares after the execution of this acquisition, which means in their immediate and future plan that they have on paper, they're not going to do it. They weren't planning on doing this in the first place, except for they needed to protect their investment. There's a benefit both ways here. These deals come up out of the blue all the time. And hey, if that's what they said, that's what they said. That's the official statement. This is all they're doing for now. No plans to do anything more. my tweet was aimed at those who were running around going, "Oh, it's a done deal. It's a done deal behind the scenes. It's absolutely happened. Go suck at everyone else. Sony's going to have Kadokawa all to themselves. Elden Ring's going to be an exclusive. Blah blah blah." That was me giving a middle finger to them, basically saying, "Go sit in the corner and cry because you're just fucking idiots." And then I had a heap of people I've got no clue what hole they crawled out of, going, "No, you can't read. You can't read." I'm like, come on, guys. It's clear as day. There's nothing between the lines in this statement. Yes, they might change their minds next week, but as it stands right now, the official word is that. And you're just feeding to exactly what I said people need to stop doing, which is running around saying, "Oh, this is the first bit and it's going to be that." Someone said it's like Nintendo buying Monolith. This isn't nothing even in the same stratosphere of that being comparable to Nintendo buying Monolith. It's not like it's a part investment and then we'll buy the rest out later. That's not in Sony's strategy at the moment. It's not in their plan. It's not what they do. If they want it, they buy it. If they don't want it, they don't buy it. This is the best of both worlds for everything. So everybody who's attended the University of Twitter and thinks that they're, bright sparks and understanding all this stuff, as Logic was saying before, go and invest the time, money, effort, and energy in getting a couple of degrees and 10 years experience, and then come back and have an argument with us about it. But if you have done nothing but read a headline out of an article that's referencing another article that's referencing some clown who said 2 anonymous sources told me this was a done deal, with the greatest of respects, go do one with a rusty fishhook.
Did you say a rusty fishhook? That's
Yep.
That's a
Go do one with a rusty. Okay, that's a new one. I haven't heard that one before. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Slomo's going to add that to his vocabulary.
Oh yeah.
But yeah,
Brian,
that's
on the topic of malpropisms. I don't think buying cows and milk is. I think that's a different context.
I saw that. Yeah, that is Logic. That is definitely a different context. By the way, 110%. But yeah, so
it's a sensible outcome for all involved. It gives Kadokawa a domestic. So the biggest shareholder for Kadokawa now is a domestic institution rather than a domestic individual or family. So there's a lot more protections in that. It staves off the aggressive attempt from Kakao from South Korea, though they are still buying up in the background. They're at 8.5% or something at the moment, so they're still a major player. But the issuance of these shares that Sony's acquired is helping stave off Kakao's majority holdings, because there's also trade-offs. Kakao might be trying to buy out Kadokawa for whatever reason, but Kadokawa's then got other regulatory issues they need to deal with by having a majority shareholder or multiple majority shareholders out of country. So there's some protections there around for Kadokawa by doing this deal, and likewise Sony gets some priority benefits out of it as well. But it's you read the press releases, the official releases from both of them, and it's pretty clear what the intent of this is. If you want to make something of it, by all means, go for it. But most people are wrong. They've been wrong since day one on this thing.
Yeah, no, thank you for that insight, Funky. Go ahead, Logic.
And this leads me to one of my philosophical cliches that is very appropriate at this time. The YouTube Twitter circuit spends a lot of energy trying to make news out of things that aren't news. And in this time of year, I'm almost willing to be forgiving of it, because news cycle is slowing down, theoretically, and there's not a lot of big game releases coming out. However, the reason I'm not going to take it off the table for this time of the year is because they don't do it the other times of the year. The other times of the year, when there's actually valid news in the news cycle, an actual analysis and assessment to be done, and intelligent conversations to have, there's still this ongoing effort to constantly make mountains out of molehills and news out of things that aren't news. Just play the video games that are available when the news cycle is slow. Just comment on things that are actually news, and don't try and create news out of news that isn't there. And it's not just the YouTube Twitter circuit. It's valid journalists. What was the news article that you showed me today, BRAP, that I'm like, this
Oh,
article just defines
yeah.
the market as it already currently exists.
Yeah.
Like,
It was the game industry will only have room for one non-Nintendo console next gen. It's claimed.
yeah,
That was the title.
That's where we are now.
Exactly. That's where we are today.
Like we have one console vendor who has less than 10% of the market. I keep telling you guys who are like championing Xbox and like
newsflash, you need oxygen to breathe.
Yes, loving Xbox is fine. Being a fan of Xbox is fine. Asserting that Xbox is doing things that just aren't metrically quantifiably supported makes no sense. You guys are literally 9.85% of the market the last time I did the math. Just stop. Stop making news and like making things that need to be torn apart that don't need to be torn apart. Like the market has already squeezed out the number 3 vendor. They're at 9.85%. In most regards, most people consider that not really a player on the market.
It's barely a rounding error.
Right. We're installed.
Including Satya.
Foggy said a rounding. I mean, we saw the numbers from Circana for November year on year. Hardware spending down 27%. Right for Xbox
29.
For Xbox Series. Is it 29? Oh,
29%.
Yeah.
Currency corrected.
Yeah, so they're absolutely a player in the software market, but again, the definition of the market as we have previously defined it is not the same, and that's not who some other pundits say, oh, the gaming market is changing. To which I respond, no shit, it changes every year, and it's constantly in evolution. It has been since the 50 years since it was incepted, which I was there for. So like the market, and we talked about this years ago. The market has divided itself. The consumers have spoken. Nintendo has taken what is essentially the lower half of the market. PlayStation has taken the upper half of the market, the luxury high-end video game experience consumer. Nintendo has captured the consumer that is the lower 50%, and I'm just using hand-wavy figures, right, of the people who aren't necessarily wrapped around the axle about performance and care more about portability. That's the market that they've served. Nintendo has also strongly signaled that it's not really intending to move up market, right? So I don't know that there's going to be a lot of big market shifts. Xbox lost a generation where Phil Spencer himself, I am quite honestly so tired of saying how things that I've said get corroborated by things Phil Spencer himself says months later, and then still getting argued with about like that's not what it really means. I'm like, he literally just said the things that I've been saying almost verbatim. Phil Spencer himself said that they lost the generation that they couldn't afford to lose, where people built and became anchored to their digital libraries. So that was a generation lost. They are losing this generation at a staggering percentage that I didn't even expect. So their market share has slipped further this generation. I don't know why you would think that there's going to be some wackadoodle 180, so much of a 180 that it almost constitutes a 360, no pun intended. But like,
yeah, you did. You intended that pun.
Like, why would you think that there's going to be some wackadoodle turnaround next generation? Like, we've seen other businesses transform themselves. We've seen IBM transform themselves. We've seen HP transform themselves. We've seen BlackBerry transform themselves and move themselves out of being big hardware vendors and go down the lane of enterprise services. And for Great Scott, this is the Satya Nadella mentality Satya Nadella mentality that he's been preaching since he took over as
Some
CEO.
people think he is Satya Mandela, but go ahead.
And here we are, right? As it's been like the gavel has been pounded every year after year after year, every month after month after month. I mean, so the market's only going to have place for like Great Scott, man. We're already there. Like, stop talking about a console war that doesn't exist. It's been over for 2 years, if not more.
And I get the worst thing about the two things about that I'll add on to what Logic just said is, one, Xbox did this to themselves when they drew the battle lines up around backwards compatibility. They basically, when they drew the battle lines up around backwards compatibility, they were trying to force PlayStation. They knew PlayStation would have to respond. And when PlayStation did respond by saying, yeah, digital library backwards compatible, the whole friggin' thing. Well, straight away that they lost there, because now they don't have a point of indifference, and PlayStation's got a mountain more quality games for people to carry with them. So there was no delineation to make people shift. If they hadn't have drawn that battle line, then PlayStation could have come out and said PS5 games only, and we'll sort it out later, and not had backwards compatibility factored into it. Then Xbox could have just quietly dropped it and said, well, look, our games are, performing better and all the rest of it for multiplats and whatnot. It would have been a different outcome. They wouldn't have won it, but they wouldn't have lost so much ground as they did. But the thing that ticks me off the most, and has for a long time, is, you said before, Satya's got all this shit at their disposal. They've got all this software at their disposal. They've got all the power in the world at their disposal to make this thing work, and they still can't get it right. And I've been hammering at Microsoft and Phil and co at that level for years about how they continuously just piss an opportunity up the wall time and time and time again. And they've spent 70 something, nearly $80 billion to buy Bethesda and Activision, and the numbers still won't turn around for them. It's insane how many opportunities they just squander. And they keep doing it. And then they turn around and wonder why they've got such a small market share. If they get into the handheld area, they're going to get thumped. PlayStation's not going to go and challenge Nintendo in that zone. PlayStation, if they do that handheld, it'll be something that you can, play your games on the go. The Vita was it the Vita that you could play your PS3 and PS4 games, cross saves, cross plays? I think it was the Vita, wasn't it? And they're doing the same thing with the Portal at the moment. Whatever the next one is, if it's a standalone handheld, well, great, good on them. But I doubt it's going to have this same sort of gaming prowess as what Nintendo does. And all of Nintendo's successful consoles have been handheld and portables. That's what they're good at doing ever since the first Game Boy. That's what Nintendo's been great at, because they make games that play well on them. What does Xbox offer? At the moment, they're not offering a differentiation on a lot of different places. They can't compete with Sony on quality. They can't compete with Nintendo on fun and portability. And they struggle to compete with anything that comes out on PC because they're not focused enough to deliver it. And they're spread so thin, their studios are trying all this creative stuff and going nowhere with it because they've got no discipline. But that discipline stems from the top. And when you've got Satya saying we're doubling down, we're increasing this, and this is an Xbox thing you've got on the screen, basically saying everything is an Xbox, but notice how they never flash a Switch or a PlayStation up, because they'll get sued into the millennium if they do. They'll just flash up all the different parts. So Steam Deck, because, they're not going to sue them because they make too much money off them, and all the Logitech thing and the TVs and all the other deals that they've got. It's like saying we don't want to be we don't want to be seen as hardware anymore. We just want to be seen as software, So we're no better than EA and we're no better than Ubisoft, but they'll get thumped. Ubisoft is a basket case, but the quality of their games will thump Xbox Studios day in and day out. EA thumps Activision day in, day out. You can already see the leakage going into the quality from the management team that's there already. They don't have the discipline. And, redefining what it means to be an Xbox fan. Well, there's so many of us that were fans and have been fans for a long time. And all we want is something that resembles what an Xbox game was. And they just don't have the leadership to deliver it. And it drives me up the wall every day that I see this stupid shit come out. They had a formula that worked, and they just, for some reason, cannot seem to get anywhere back close to it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to this article here because Satya, as you mentioned, Falky, talked about redefining what it means to be an Xbox fan. He talked about the company is aiming to redefine the Xbox fan experience by leveraging Game Pass and cloud gaming. The success of Game Pass has led Xbox to prioritize making its games available on more devices, as seen with this. This is an Xbox ad campaign. Despite the shift, Xbox insists it remains committed to its console hardware business. There are some rumors out there that perhaps the next Xbox might be only available through would be available for purchase through Microsoft Direct themselves, and maybe not on retail. Again, that is a rumor. that's going around. But it's interesting. He does talk about redefining what it means to be an Xbox fan, taking the joy of gaming everywhere. But frankly, I'm not surprised by him saying this. I mean, I think the writing's been on the wall for a very long time now, that this is the direction they're going. I don't have an issue with it. It's just a company executing a different strategy. To me, this, I think we've talked about this quite a bit on this show, Logic. We talked about Microsoft. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but something to the effect of this is Microsoft or Xbox aligning to Microsoft core business strategy now, with putting their games going to where the consumer is what I'm trying to say. So, but I'm not surprised by any of this, and I don't think anyone else should. Although I've seen some pundits, YouTube pundits, kind of scratching their head and pounding their fists on their desks, their tables, asking, why is this happening? It's like, look, guys, the writing's been on the wall for some time. This is the direction they're heading. Microsoft's going to put their games on every device, because that's what Microsoft does with their software. They put everything, they go to the consumer. That's what they do. Although I will say this, I know he's saying that, look, we're not going to get out of the console space. I know there will be another.
Sorry, I'm going to jump in here and say,
yeah.
Did he actually explain what that meant when he said they're not getting out of the console space? Because that could mean that they're still going to make games for consoles.
He said that it's just it remains committed to its console hardware business. So to me, they saying it's console hardware, that means Xbox consoles. But that doesn't. But then that doesn't mean there's another one coming. Like that statement, that comment that he made is so throwaway in so many different ways that anyone who pins their colors to the mast on saying, see, Xbox consoles are staying around and that's confirmation. It's not. It's the most open-ended statement that a CEO could make. Effectively, all it's doing is saying, at this stage, we're committed to supporting what we've currently got. We haven't decided what we're doing next. But that decision's got to come soon, because we're into the back end of this thing. They're going to have to start development on it if they're going to make another one.
So I think it's. I mean, my opinion is it's okay to make that statement, given what I've been saying for a very long time. They have a. You can argue whether or not it's successful or not, but they have a boutique laptop business, hardware business that has done what they wanted it to do. They have the Microsoft Surface line. And what the Microsoft Surface line was about not overwhelming profit. It was about taking back some mind share from Apple, at least to the point where they could say, see, we can do hardware too. And again, that hasn't been an overwhelming business. It was never intended to be. And this is part of my problem with like the people who are like, we'll see Game Pass, it's this overwhelming thing. I'm like, I don't know that it was ever intended to be, and I think it's okay that it's not. If it's just meant to be an additional consumption vector, then that's fine. It doesn't need to become this overwhelming business thing and take over the universe that you guys are pinning your hopes on. I actually think, and I've said for a very long time, my belief is that Xbox is going to become a boutique hardware business, and that is okay. It is for the people who are super faithful to buy that thing. And it doesn't need to be 50% of the market share. And so that's the business perspective. I think it's fine for them to do a handheld. I think it's fine for them to do an Xbox Steam box. I think it's fine for them to. I mean, quite honestly, there's a certain hope to a certain degree that there's kind of a Dell story in here, right? That there's almost a point of saying there's an aspect of business competition that we don't care about, and that allows us a little more freedom and an ability to innovate, right? And again, they've done that right with Microsoft Surface, right? I love like the aspect of the Microsoft Surface product, because I'm a big digital inker, and they serve that market. And quite honestly, that actually kicked off an additional revolution, right, in the 2-in-1 tablet, which was a thing that was kind of going away. And so they essentially kind of platformed up that business for their partners, and in many ways, in terms of the overall Windows ecosystem, it did the thing that it needed to do. So I'm okay if they go down that path. Swinging out of the business thing back to the social thing, then this is where I hit the problem with the fan base.
Yeah.
if you want to love Xbox, just love Xbox and love Xbox for what it is. Stop trying to create fan fiction that says that Xbox is something that it's not. If Xbox is going to go down this path and do a handheld and do an Xbox Steam Box and do this crazy stuff, then embrace that and love it for what it is, even if it's only 10% of the market, right? Don't try and make up these crazy narratives and agendas that, oh, well, you know, my you know, when I talk to my nephews, the only thing they talk to me about is playing on tablets and phones. Well, no shit, because that's all they have. Because they don't make money, because they're not mowing lawns yet.
Well,
Jesus Christ. Like, well,
I mean, Logic, I mean, to your point, Logic, and you and I have talked about this. I mean, that's kind of been the, I think fan fiction is a great way to put it. There's been a lot of fan fiction about this being the future and they do this to justify the business decisions that Xbox is doing. And it really boils down to console wars, and it's stupid. But fan fiction is a great way to describe it, because to your point, like, people are saying that, well, you know, the kids play on tablets. Well, like you said, like, well, yeah, the kids are playing what their parents can either afford or allow them to play on. You're like, my kids, they don't play on tablets. I think you heard my 6-year-old the other day when we were in the background, Logic, we were talking. He said, I only play on the tablet when the PS5 and the PC aren't available. So, but everyone's household is different. And I, you know, and so what happens to those consumers, those kids, when they get older and they have more disposable income? Are they going to only be playing tablets? Maybe not, you know, because now they can go out and afford that 65-inch TV, that OLED, and maybe they want a more higher end experience. You know, they can go out and buy games now. So I think I love that fan fiction thing. That's great. So I'm sorry, Logic, I interrupted, but I just wanted to kind of double down on that, because I think that's a bit overstated at times.
You know, I don't think that the Xbox games are bad. I think if you look at, like, overall, the level of quality of their games has risen since about 2018, when they first started to actually acquire studios and actually pay attention to first party. But I think the biggest issue that they have is they don't have games that have impact. Like, they don't have games that people are like, well, I need to own the Xbox to play. I need to own the Xbox to play this game, because this is a game that everyone wants to play and everyone's got to have. And I think Nintendo and Sony have had those kind of titles, and they haven't had those kind of titles since the Xbox 360. And that's the biggest issue that they have yet to solve, in addition to just them not really ever really paying attention to the details. You know, and I don't mean to keep rehashing these kind of things, but like Halo Infinite, you know, was you know, how it launched was unacceptable.
Someone real quick, I got to give a big shout out to Twisted Sid, who just gifted 5 BRAP VIP memberships. Twisted Sid, thank you so much. Happy holidays. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Go ahead, Slomo.
Yeah, I mean, like, we know for a fact that, like, Xbox leadership, no one that was a real decision maker even looked at Halo Infinite before we looked at Halo Infinite. Like, can you imagine, like, the most important people at Nintendo not looking at Breath of the Wild before they showed it to the consumer, or Sony not looking at The Last of Us Part 2 before they showed the game off? That's ridiculous. That level of miscommunication is going on. That level of just incompetence and inadequate leadership and management continues to happen. And until we start to see these games actually release in a way where it's not, oh, well, whoops, the game's kind of incomplete at launch. Whoops, it's got all these other technical issues. Oh, it's not, like, until we start seeing that, where we stop seeing games where it gets delayed multiple times and it's still not ready. Like, the games they have potential, but the management there isn't helping that potential be realized. And it ends up where these situations where you do have good games, but they're just not good enough to deal with what your competition is providing. and not good enough for you to actually gain some relevance outside of the markets that you tend to delve in the most. And that's where they're going now, because frankly, just keep it a buck, Satya's bonus is predicated on gaming revenue. It's no longer predicated on Game Pass subscriptions. That's what he cares about. He cares about making money fast and how much money and he's not patient to sit around and wait for the Xbox platform or Matt Booty to get the games right and the Xbox platform to slowly grow to that point. Nah, go ahead and put them games over on PlayStation, bud. I'm gonna get my money right now. I'm gonna get my bonus right now. That's where it's at. And this is where when he says we're redefining what the Xbox fan is, which I mean I think that's funny, because it's like it's right and it's wrong. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like it's wrong because who are you to tell people how, you know, why they're a fan, right? But then it's right because of how they are moving. Absolutely, if you're still a fan, it's going to be for different reasons that you were a fan before. So you know, it's right and wrong at the same time, because it's like it's kind of disrespectful, especially from a guy who ain't a damn gamer at all, you know, and never knew jack about gaming anyway. But then it's like, well, yeah, that's kind of true, because if you're going to be people who are still like in 2027, I'm an Xbox fan, you better be talking about like a tablet or, you know, games on a Nintendo Switch 2, because they've shown they do not really care about the hardware. They don't care about you on an Xbox. They don't even market your Xbox. They market saying you don't need a console. They care about xCloud and Game Pass, wherever Game Pass is, and PC. They don't care about you. So yeah, if you're still an Xbox fan years from now, you better be someone that's down for the program, because otherwise you're going to be extremely unhappy that like you're playing on an Xbox console that gets some of the games that everyone's getting, that consistently misses the biggest games, the third-party games that come out in the year. Last year, Baldur's Gate 3. This year, Black Myth Wukong. You're giving those games to the competition, and what's the competition giving you back? A thumbs up. Thanks, because we ain't giving you jack shit. We're not giving you a single one of our games. We don't need to do that. You do. And if you're an Xbox gamer, that kind of sucks, you know, especially if you've already put that investment in on your platform, where you're like, well, I could have just bought a PlayStation 5 and not have to, you know, have two consoles. But, you know, in the future, a lot of people will be making those kind of decisions, those kind of choices. So,
I mean, what it is, man. What he's really doing when he talks about redefining what it means to be an Xbox fan. Look, we've said many times on this show in the past few years, maybe even longer, that there are statements that are made that we think you should recognize what the meaning is behind them. And the meaning behind redefining what it means to be an Xbox fan, despite all this flourishing and grandstanding in this interview, is he's really saying I'm eradicating the notion of an Xbox fan. Right? He's killing it off. Because like someone said, you're not going to be a fan of the hardware. You're going to be a fan of their games. Mm-hmm. And then when we really talk about that analog in the consumer market today, how many of you guys out there? Let's take my love of Ubisoft off the table. But in general, none of us really talk about, I'm an EA fan. I'm a Take-Two fan. I'm a Bandai Namco fan. I'm a Capcom fan. Now, as you get down to some of those smaller,
I'm a FromSoftware fan.
It's from.
Oh yeah, there is the cult like crazies for FromSoftware.
FromSoftware fan.
Yes, but that's a studio, and that was the point I was getting to. There's not a lot of us who really talk about fandom around publishers. We talk about fandom around our studios that we love. there are some exceptions, like with a Square Enix. You talk about Square Enix that way, but that's because we're really, quite frankly, particularly now since the sell-off of the Western studios, you really don't care about any Square Enix studios, right? Beyond the ones that are really making Final Fantasy.
Yeah, you care about the IP. You're a Final Fantasy fan.
Yeah, you care about
Dragon Quest.
Yep. So what you're gonna
what
you're gonna become in the future?
There's like 5, Forspoken fans out there. Shout out to them.
So what you're going to become in the future as an Xbox fan is you're going to become a fan of their studios. I'm an Obsidian fan. They're going to be.
Yeah, me too. I like Obsidian.
Fans. Yeah, the studio Bethesda. They're going to be Machine Games fans. They're going to be fans like that. But and Satya is going to tell you you're an Xbox fan. That if you are a Compulsion Games fan, you're an Xbox fan. But that's not going to resonate with you in your fandom. And so you're going to become, what he's talking about in redefining you is you're becoming a number. You're not really becoming a brand loyalist. The few brand loyalists that will remain will be the people who continue to buy the boutique hardware, and they'll continue to get catered to, but they will also be heavily invested in making up fan fiction about things that aren't real. The rest of us will be consumers on the market, and we'll be buying games from publishers. We won't necessarily love those publishers. I think most of us, quite frankly, there's far more publisher hatred around an Activision and an EA, right, and even Take-Two, right, to a certain extent, but you're still going to love Rockstar, right? This is the redefinition that is happening. You're quite frankly, you're kind of being, what's being done to you is that you're having the equivalent of racial profiling done to you in terms of your fandom, and you're being redefined. Welcome to the future.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point. Go ahead, Falky.
That's business 101. Know your customers and squeeze them for everything they're willing to give you. But yeah, this notion that I agree with a lot of what Game Logic just said. But I'd probably, as I usually do, I think he's being too nice to the fandoms. There's some parts about this which are just, the board would be asking questions of Satya and Co. and Amy Hood and others and saying, why are you not going to where consumers will spend money? Because they're not spending money with Xbox, not even close to the level that they should be spending it at. And it's, you look through their last releases, if you read through the transcripts, there's some information, Call of Duty. We're excited about last week's launch of Call of Duty, where we saw most of the Game Pass subscriber ads we've ever seen on a launch day. There are two things about the launch that are different than Call of Duty launch a year ago, when revenue was mostly recognized in the quarter of purchase. Firstly, the game is available on Game Pass, so for players who play through Game Pass, subscription revenue is recognized over time. Second, the game requires an online connection to play, so even for players who purchase the standalone game, revenue recognition will also occur ratably over time. That's got some ups and downs, where if a heap of people played it in the first month and then they stop playing it, then it'll recognize an element of the revenue in the first month, but then it'll tail off like crazy. But if they only released it in Game Pass as the only place you could get it, they would have left billions of dollars on the table. There's no way that anyone worth their weight in salt who sits on a board or sits at Amy Hood's level or Satya's level would look at not having billions of dollars in their pocket and go, yeah, we're going to go with that decision just because a dozen or so fanboys want us to do it. That's not how business works. And it's in those points where I think Logic's being nice about the fandoms. Satya doesn't care. He wants his bank, and he'll walk over whatever he needs to make sure he gets it. He doesn't care about your feelings. All he cares about is getting your money. And that's his job. That's not a reflection of him as an individual. That's his job. That's what he's paid tens of millions of dollars to do, and gets bonuses if he hits his KPIs. It's Phil's job to make you feel good about getting effed. He's the one who's got to wine and dine you, and he's the one who's got to make you feel good about reaching in your pocket and pulling out the cash. At the moment, he's not really doing a good job. But when you've got...
When you said reach, Falky, I thought you were going to say something else.
Well, depends on where it reaches into your pocket, but
pocket pool, play some pocket pool.
Yeah.
Fuck, you suck.
You got to ask first. You You guys are something else. The main thing.
If you make Falky speechless, that's not easy to do. Go ahead, Falky.
No, it's all good. So the issue will be they've got 20-something million, 30 million Game Pass subscribers. Let's go with 30 million Game Pass subscribers. We don't know if they're all current, but let's say they've got 30 million Game Pass subscribers and they've got 25 million or whatever it is consoles out in the world. 30 million consoles out in the world. That's profitable if you can make that model work. And it's a good place to be and it's a good place to work from. But when you're that far behind everybody else in the market and segment you're working in, you really don't have a choice but to go, all right, I've either got to abandon this model and go to something completely new, which has a huge amount of risk, or I can take the time to pivot across and make it happen at a decent rate of knots, while I'm still supplying to my current base in the current generation cycle. I can get away with putting stuff everywhere else because the money is way too good. And if they choose, I don't think they will this year, but if they choose to continue highlighting where their revenue comes from, like Activision was, you'll probably find that a lot of Xbox's revenue suddenly starts coming from Sony because of the money that's being spent on the games, not the money that's being put in the subscriptions. Since they stopped doing the dollar deals all the time and the stackability and all the freebies for Game Pass, the subscription uptake has stalled completely. Because they say here, we expect Xbox content and service revenue growth to be relatively flat. Things been flat for 2 years. Content and services revenue from the FTC documents is 10 to 15% of total revenue. And at the time, 18 months ago, that was barely $2 billion. And it's not moving. The revenue's not moving, and they've stopped offering those cheap deals. It doesn't take much to put two and two together. So, yeah, and again, I'll circle it back. What Logic was saying, he's correct when he's pointing out that the Xbox fan being redefined is just a number for Satya, but the rest of the team who's supposed to make you feel good isn't making you feel good, and you're basically going to get put over the barrel and drilled because they need the money. They don't want. It's not like they can.
There's some crazy examples out here tonight. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Remember a couple of years ago when we all said that the bubble's got to pop at some point. They can't keep spending this kind of money without getting returned. The bubble is going to pop at some point. Remember they're giving Game Pass away for free with every console. You could get it for 3 months or 6 months or 12 months for free with your bloody Wheat Bix or your Captain Crunch cereal, or you could pick up a box off the shelf and the code was on the box. Wheat Bix.
Oh, I thought you said Wheat Dicks. Falky, I'm sorry. I thought that's what you said.
Okay.
I misunderstood you. I'm sorry, Falky.
I know I've got a thick accent. I know.
Well, that's what it was. I mean, it was the Australian accent. I thought you said Wheat Dicks, and I'm like, oh, that's okay. Well, go ahead, Falky.
I thought he said Wheat Dicks as well, but considering how the night is gone, I was just like, all right.
Go and have a nice bowl of Wheat Dicks for breakfast. Yeah.
Logic shaking his head like, what have I joined here?
We've got to elevate this show, lift it out of the gutter.
Yeah, let's go. Let's elevate out. Yeah, go ahead.
Up. You could go and pick up a box of cereal, and the code was there, and you could log in on your phone and activate the code. And you didn't even have to buy the box of cereal, and you could get 12 months Game Pass for free. They had all these massive bump in subscriptions. They went 10, 15, 20, 25-ish, 25, 26, 27, and it just petered off. And they've taken all those deals away, and the subscriptions aren't going up, and the revenue is flatlined, which suggests that there's less people paying full bang for it. And if it's only $2 billion in revenue at the last account that we could get numbers that make sense out of it, if you've got 30 million at the full rate for Ultimate, you should have somewhere around $7 or $8 billion of revenue, and they're at 2. It ain't working. That math means that this thing is not working. So they got to go somewhere to get the money, and they don't care if they hurt your feelings in going to do it because they have no choice now. You as an Xbox, not an Xbox fan, but an Xbox fanatic who championed that Game Pass was the best thing ever because it was cheap and play it free on Game Pass, and I don't have to spend big money if I don't want to on my consoles, and I don't have to do this and I don't have to do that. There's so few of you now that are in existence that you can't support the thing that you love
T-Rock,
so
that's
much,
messy.
that you're so fanatical about. Yeah, that's what I was just chuckling about then.
That's so messy, T-Rock, but thank you for the super chat.
The outcome of this is that you've effectively put them to the wall from a business perspective of, we can no longer sustain this, and Dad's closed his wallet. And we all told you this was going to happen soon. Everybody on this panel were talking about this years ago. We knew this day was coming. We knew this time was coming. And you've seen it in the last 6 months, specifically since the June Xbox Live, where the last thing they spoke about was the next game that wasn't in the first 4 coming to PlayStation was the big title release that they'd been banging on about being an exclusive for 12 to 18 months. And that's when the floodgates open. They are going to put these games, and you can see it now, wherever they can find someone who will pay for them.
Yeah, I want to go back to what Logic said about redefining what a fan is. I thought it was a great point, Logic. I also think it's I also looked at it as redefining what the Xbox business is, that it's not the traditional console centric model anymore. It is beyond that now. I think when I hear him saying we're going to redefine what the Xbox consumer is, to me, the ship is sailing in a different direction. And get on board, because this thing's changing. All right. Go ahead, Logic. I see you pick up your mic. Yeah.
It's just Xbox that's changing. The industry is changing, but the industry is not radically changing, and it's not that the industry is radically changing and Xbox is the only one coping with it. It's Xbox is radically changing because Xbox is so far behind, and Xbox isn't where it needs to be from a business perspective. And Xbox is transitioning and pivoting in order to put themselves in position to perform at their best strength based on their core competencies and based on their adjacencies. And that's totally fine. If you go to business school, if you go after an MBA, if you go, some of the best case studies, right? And the things that we think about as successes, indicators of success, right, are again some of those things that I noticed that I mentioned before: the turnaround of IBM, the turnaround of Xerox, the turnaround of, BlackBerry's wasn't really a turnaround; it was a survival after a catastrophic failure. But it still kept them in existence rather than being wiped off the board. The turnaround of HP. Lots of people have gone down this path, and lots of people have businesses. Quite frankly, the turnaround of Nvidia, right? Not necessarily a turnaround, but a capitalization right onto a strategy that has catapulted them into the $1 trillion club. So Xbox doing things, I've said this so many times, I don't necessarily have a problem with Xbox's strategies that it picks in its effort to survive, in its effort to become more competitive. That's fine, right? And like I said, those are things that are borne out right in business class, and that should be okay for people. But instead, like I said, people try and manufacture things to make it seem like, well, everybody's going to have to do what Xbox does. Well, you don't have to do what Xbox does if you're not in third place. Why would I follow the strategy of the company that's the most behind when I'm winning? What we talk about the analog of this business to sports. I don't see anybody following the New York Giants strategy, right? Or the Dallas Cowboys strategy. when you're the Kansas City Chiefs or you're somebody who's on top of the league? Like, in what world does that make sense?
In the world of Twitter, it makes sense. And that's part of the problem. I do want to move on to PlayStation 5 Pro specifications. Mark Cerny did a little bit of a deep dive, if you will, into the specs of the PlayStation 5 Pro. I didn't actually watch the video. I've watched Cerny's other deep dives in the past. Did you watch it? Is it good? Okay.
You've got to watch it. It's
Yeah,
the most classic go F yourself you'll ever watch.
Yeah, I'll have to go. I'll have to go watch it then. But he does talk about how the PS5 Pro achieves 16.7 T-flops compared to the PS5's 10 T-flops. I think this was in reference to a maybe a potential leak. There was he mentioned addressing the flopflation. There was an erroneous 33.5 T-flop number that was leaked due to a misunderstanding of hardware by a leaker. Assuming deeper use of RDNA 3 inspired architecture. So Cerny clarified that the PS5 Pro in 16-bit calculations can achieve 67 T-flops. Clarify that RDNA 2.x is Sony's customized AMD and RDNA 2 architecture, uses many RDNA 3 features, but maintains enough of the original architecture to not force code rewrites on the new hardware. Falky, you've intrigued me now. Maybe I do need to watch this video. What do you mean by it's the most polite? Did you say F you or?
Yeah. So
yeah, why do you say that?
Because he calls out Digital Foundry and he references to a couple of other leading technical channels on the internet about how wrong they got things. The piece about it that I enjoyed the most was when he made some statements and then he put his maths up to show it. And he was basically saying, everyone couldn't figure out how we did it. This is how we did it. And it's just like saying, you people that are on the internet are incapable of thinking beyond what currently exists. And when he explains a lot of the things of how they solved them, some of them he actually, seriously, anyone who, not just yourself, Brad, but anyone else who hasn't watched it, go and watch it. He talks about it in a sense that you will understand most of it. And literally, he's dumbing down really complex stuff down to layman's terms as best as he can. You just got to sort of stick with it. It's like when I explain business principles. It wanders a little bit, but we'll get you there in the end. I'll hold your hand for most of it. But yeah, and there's parts where he's going, this is how we did it. And it sounds like such a simple solution. And he's just, yeah. And especially when he points out the Digital Foundry bit, and they started launching response videos that day. They had like 4 or 5 videos and shorts that came out, and they were pissed. They were mad as hell. They were not happy about having to do those responses.
So I didn't see those responses. What were some of the responses by Digital Foundry then? Because again, I haven't kept I didn't follow that piece of the story here or the response to what Cerny was saying. I wasn't aware that he kind of called them out. So what were some of the responses by DF?
A lot of it was basically eating humble pie, saying words without actually addressing the things directly. The couple that I saw was they were and ahhing about the theoretical capacity of whether what he said could actually be accurate, even though it's out in existence and proven that it fucking works. And they're still sitting there going, well, we weren't sure. We didn't think. We're not sure. We're not convinced. We maybe this, maybe that. Well, it could have been. No. And even one of the 3 that run the channel that are constantly in the videos for Digital Foundry didn't sit down with him and talk with him. They had some other random person I've never seen before actually sat down and had an interview with Cerny about some of this stuff. And that was part of the thing that they released afterwards. But yeah, they were not happy with the is it Richard Ledbetter, the older guy with the glasses? His response, one of his videos, he was red as a beetroot. He looked pissed, like genuinely mad about being called out about this thing. And there was another guy was Who's the other guy? I can't remember his name now. The lanky one loves to talk with his shirt off all the time. He was doing a video where it was like he was being forced to make these adjustments to what they'd said previously. So I would have thought people to learn after the first time Cerny had his TED talk about the PS5, where he said teraflops aren't important. 84K isn't important. The two things, the main thing I took away from this was 84K is dead in the water. It is no longer important. No one cares about horsepower and GPUs to get to the native 4K. What they're doing here with the AI upscaling and all the rest of it means that developers aren't going to have to spend tens and tens of millions of dollars doing graphical improvements when their system can take a 270p image and crank it up to 4K, and you would not be able to tell the difference.
But native resolution hasn't been important since like the middle of last generation. Like it really hasn't been important for a very long time. Like a lot of the first party PlayStation games last generation were doing checkerboard rendering. There's both consoles consistently rely on dynamic resolution. Now with FSR being in play on consoles, you have dynamic resolutions in addition to FSR, in addition to frame generation. On PC, back in 2019, I think it was, is when we started to see DLSS actually get good and then start to be implemented in ways where it didn't look horrible on the screen in order to get a acceptable frame rate. And now DLSS is, freaking fantastic. If you use DLSS quality, you're more than likely getting the visual you're getting is like native resolution. And sometimes even better, especially if you use deep learning anti-aliasing, which is DLAA that NVIDIA now has. And the NVIDIA, Intel, AMD, they are consistently pushing forward, not with pure rasterization, but using machine learning and AI to get the advancements that are not no longer going to happen. And it's like NVIDIA said this like over a year ago. We see Cerny saying it now. Pure rasterization is just not the way to advancements anymore. It can't happen. The improvements are becoming smaller and smaller. And if you want real good enhancements, you want to be able to play games and that look fantastic and look even better than the previous games, it has to go an AI route. And I think I've stayed out of primarily the entire arguments with the PS5 Pro just because it annoyed me so much, because there's just so much ignorance in the conversations. And I understand part of it, because part of it is guys on consoles who don't they don't follow like tech channels like Gamer Nexus or Hardware Unboxed that like break this stuff down and explain to you what anti-aliasing really is and what temporal anti-aliasing is and what actual upscaler is actually doing. They don't follow these things, so it's understandable that someone doesn't understand all the ins and outs. It was just the level of arrogance that people had in not knowing what the hell they were talking about, but speaking in such an authoritative tone and snubbing their nose at other people when they had no idea what they were talking about, and they were just following along with somewhat some other dumb didn't know either. And it's just it's teraflops have never mattered. I won't give them a pass on that, because they learned that in 2020 with the Xbox Series X and the PS5, and everybody was making a big deal about the Xbox Series X has more teraflops than the PS5. It didn't matter then.
Yeah, it
doesn't matter now.
Real quick, I mean, speaking of 2020, the late great Optimus Code, rest in peace, Code, talked about this. He said it. He said, "Look, guys, you guys are so caught up in T-flops." He goes, "T-flops don't matter. It's a marketing thing, really." He's like, "You gotta it's not something to hang your hat on." And so this is coming from somebody who had worked in software development in the gaming industry, understood how it worked. People got upset when he said that. He wasn't wrong. He wasn't wrong. He was just like, "Look, guys, just pump the brakes."
There were people out here that was saying stuff like it's just math. No, it's not. just math. It's more than that. There are game engines. There are there are game development kits. There are APIs that come into play, and they all are different. And how they are applied and used by developers
Talked
is different.
time,
Using-
talent, tools, resources. He talked about that. Code did.
Yeah, using what one architecture's method of calculating floating point calculations is not the determination of what's more powerful and what can be used. You're completely ignoring also the talent that has to be involved to actually make this stuff. And it's just because you have something that may have more raw power, even though you completely ignore that each architecture has a different method of calculating that. So the only way you can truly measure T-flops between two different products is if they're in the same generation of architecture. So you couldn't even do RDNA 2 to RDNA 3. You had to do it within the same stack. It's just like the fact that people don't understand these things and they still ran their mouth about it. It's no shock that this year this is what we had, where people are flipping out about T-flops.
Yeah.
It means nothing.
Just to cap off my point before Logic or anyone else continues on. What I got most excited about for this, though, is what the implication is for game development. And it is that the big expensive part of game development at the back end is the polish and the graphical finessing and the fine tuning and all the rest of it. And that was what the last 12 months of Ragnarok was. It's what the last 9 months of Astrobot was. It's what the last 12 months of was a shift up game, Stellar Blade. The last big inputs are huge teams doing massive amounts of graphical fine tuning. And if this piece of technology that they're now branching into with the AI machine learning, upscaling and all the rest of it means that they do not have to do that much work, then congratulations, you just found a way to make games far cheaper and tens of millions of dollars cheaper for the big games. Now, that's a big bonus or a big plus when you think about what's one of the biggest issues in gaming at the moment. It's the cost of making big games. This is going to be amazing for AA games. They can just go forth and do, and then they effectively halve the budget on what they're doing. And if this thing gets redeployed into UE5 as an upscale point, or it gets put through the Decima engine and they make that thing available to others in publishing deals, it could be quite a significant speed up in getting a game to market that looks brilliant, and you don't have to spend millions and tens of millions of dollars getting that spit and polish on it. It's quite an exciting thing.
I mean, the handful of things that I'll say about it, I think my list is short, is the people who are saying like it's just math. I mean, they're not incorrect that it's not math. It is math, but you need to understand when you're only talking about linear math, right? If you've seen Star Trek 2, right, the reference to Khan Noonien Singh is that his tactics are representative of two-dimensional thinking, right? So he doesn't expect a vertical attack from the Enterprise, right? So the point is that there are multipliers, and there's exponential growth in this system, and in all of the intermix of all the technologies that come into play. You look at where PC technology has been, and at one point we had a gigahertz war, right, back in the Pentium 2, Pentium 3, Pentium 4 generations, and then things dropped out of the bottom of the Pentium 4 generation, right? And so what did we move to? We moved to a core war, and we've been in that core war since Intel started, right, with the core processors, and quickly moved to the Core 2, and then we've gone on to Core, i3, i5, i7, and now, right, we have general consumers who can run 32 threads, right, which is just ridiculous. And look at where all of the effort is going to now to get more performance out of PCs. You're starting to see the transformation of the core war. There's a lot more effort going into the operating system side. Look at all of the new hardware we've gotten in the PC space in Q4 of 2024. We've gotten new Intel Core processors in the 200 series. We've gotten new AMD processors in the 9000 series. Did either of those processors bring the performance upgrades, right, that they expected or intended? No. They were bottlenecked by Windows, and a lot more effort went into the Windows side, into 24H2, to actually provide you the performance gains that those,
which is a dumpster fire, by the way.
right, those hardware components hoped to deliver. Right, they were limited and capped by how much of a performance they could gain by the operating system. You see all the work Microsoft is doing, working with Qualcomm and ARM processors, and that's gonna go exponential when NVIDIA brings its ARM processor to the fight. So you're starting in right, and we're quickly going to move on to quantum computing, right? These evolutions of the industry and these evolutions of technology means that these linear numbers, they hit a finite point where they don't do what you think that they're doing anymore. And that's kind of the point of like the conversation that, you know, the rest of the panel has been having.
Yeah, that's a great point, Logic. It's a great point. I do want to move on to the last topic of this evening. Hold on a second here.
I think you have a super chat.
Oh, do I have a super chat?
Yeah.
Did I miss it?
It's a little ways back.
Oh, was it T-Rocks? I shared that already. Oh,
no, it's after that.
Thank you, Slomo, for that. For that. Yeah, thank you. Is that what you're referring to, Slomo?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for that, Falky. Thank you for never mind. Oh my goodness. All right. I do want to move on to.
I might be responsible for what I say, but I'm not responsible for what you hear.
It's a great point, Falky. I gotta say, this news article brought a smile to my face. Capcom says it's.
No. What was that?
No,
was that right?
I almost pulled I almost pulled a Forte. That would have not been good.
What's the name of that company? I don't think I've heard of that publisher before. Say that one more time.
Capcom.
Capcom.
Well, this was a gaming show, not an OF show.
Yeah, exactly. Capcom says it's working on reactivating other dormant IPs like Onimusha and Akami. We did see an Akami sequel announced at the Game Awards show, and then we saw Onimusha announced at the Game Awards show, which was a huge surprise. So Capcom's saying, "Hey, look, we're going to go back into our look. We're going to look at activating other dormant IPs that we have." So I'm excited by this. I think this is great news. I'm excited by.
Wait a minute. I thought corporations making $70 billion acquisitions would bring us back old IPs. I thought we would get Crash Bandicoot and Spyro.
But you did. You got an old Crash Bandicoot game put into Game Pass. That's new, isn't it?
Just new to Game Pass.
It's amazing. Here's a publisher that didn't make a $70 billion acquisition that is doing things that fans want. It's amazing to me that a large $1 trillion corporation with vast resources like didn't do what people thought that it would do. I guess they're too busy redefining their customers.
Don't blanket us all in that statement, right? Some of us knew what was going to happen.
Well, this kind of doesn't surprise me. I mean, because if you look at Turok, which was also announced, another one. I see people saying Dino Crisis, that could be another one. But this is this to me. This to me doesn't surprise me because they've been dipping their toes in this pool. We look at the Resident Evil franchise as an example. Yeah, they've been dipping their toes in this pool for quite some time, and those re-releases of Resident Evil have done very well for them.
Now, BRAP, should we have? Look, I'm not lending it any validity, but there would be some who would argue that PlayStation has spent a lot of effort and time and production pipeline output this generation, putting out remakes, remasters. Do we need have concern that while Capcom does this, that we'll start to see a slowdown in new games and new IP coming from Capcom?
Absolutely not, because even as they've been doing these remakes, you've been seeing, let's take Resident Evil, for example. They've released Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil Village, and a big expansion to Resident Evil Village, and then they are likely probably working on Resident Evil 9. I heard that might be first person as well. As well, I think all the newer ones are going to be in first person perspective, while they're also doing the remake. So they have consistently dropped new games as well as, nostalgia bait, if you want to call it. But I think it's definitely more than nostalgia bait when you think about the level of quality they've put into their remakes. They really kind of set the bar with Resident Evil 2 remake, and just really kind of continued it on from there, where people have an expectation that it's going to be not something mailed in, that they'll modernize a classic Resident Evil game and make it fun to play, and for people who are brand new to it because they weren't born when it released, and for people who are older who remember, remember when it first came out. So I think Capcom is kind of a model of publishing that other publishers have looked at and said, yeah, we need to start doing that too. And so I think you're starting to see Sega lean into that as well, and I think you might start seeing a little bit more of that with Square Enix as well.
Yeah.
Good old
go ahead.
Capcom.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that. Those weren't the words that. Look, I shout out to Forte. Where's Forte, by the way? I've tried calling him, texting him
tonight. It's why we
no, but I'm saying, like,
delayed DPS 2 nights in a row.
I've called him and texted him and nothing.
Oh well, yeah, that's part of the course with Forte. He probably hasn't seen that you've called or text. I've had to cuss him out in order to get him to call me back. Sometimes it's
that doesn't surprise me. That doesn't surprise me at all. So.
Yeah. Last night work stuff prevented us from doing DPS. Tonight work stuff is preventing him from doing DPS. So who knows what happens tomorrow? One of us will get kidnapped by aliens, or I don't know.
Or might be playing a Capcom game.
A Capcom game, sure. I don't know about any other. I don't know other games that other publisher makes.
T-Rock, come on, man. T-Rock. That's not what I said. That's not what I said. So that's what Forte said before. How did he pronounce that? It was like momentum or something like that. That's where you got that from. Yeah, momentum or something. He said something crazy the other time he was on here. We were like, what was that again?
Right.
So, yeah. Anyhow, well, look, that's all I have for topics tonight. It is actually midnight. BRAP needs to go to bed. I have to get up early. I have a basketball game tomorrow. Falky probably needs to get dinner. I think is it close to dinner time there, Falky?
It's just gone past 4 p.m. So yes, the family will be expecting food shortly.
All right, Falky. No trip to the pub or a quick cold one? No.
No, not this afternoon. Maybe tomorrow we'll get into a Sunday session.
What is a Sunday session? That's a drinking session.
Yeah. A Sunday after lunch, couple of beers, and a good conversation, and a nice relaxing afternoon.
Yeah, we call that Sunday Fun Day here at in the States. Except here in the States, I think we overdo it with Sunday Fun Day.
If football season's finished over there, isn't it?
No, it's quiet. We're about to start the playoffs, which my team is fighting to get in on.
Slow-mo, I don't think we're going to make it.
I think we'll make it. I don't think we're going to win this Sunday, though.
I think we're going to win this Sunday.
What? Oh, yeah. Well, we'll talk. I think
so. Look, the Eagles have won like 11 in a row. They have to lose a game.
In the playoffs, they will. Yeah.
Before the playoffs. They just, there's no way they keep that momentum. And anything can happen in the NFC East. Anything can happen in the NFC East.
You smell the desperation. I'm sorry, I can smell it from down here.
Oh, come on, Falky. Well, I'm
No,
sure I'm gonna have my wheat, whatever it's called, for breakfast on Sunday.
Eat up,
Yeah.
get up early. Eat your wheat dicks.
No,
Get
that's not what
that
Falky said. That's not what Falky said.
get that girthy fiber going.
Oh man.
Get your day started. I see you, Enrique.
Why is it gotta be girthy fiber?
Because it's wheat dicks.
Oh my.
Pour some sugar on it, you'll be right.
Oh wow. All right. This episode has been presented to you by Wheat Dicks, the breakfast of champions. Anyhow.
Oh gosh.
I wanna
Only fan champions.
I wanna go ahead. Falky, hopefully one day I could join you in one of those Sunday sessions, grab a couple pints.
Absolutely.
But Falky, thank you for joining us. Always a pleasure.
That's
Hopefully
all right.
hopefully you'll come back after
Yeah. No, I'll knock on the door again. Don't worry. Thank you for hanging around and for putting up with me showing up 2 hours late. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Anytime, Falky. It's great having you on. Actually, I'm glad I've moved the show to Friday because I feel like it's easier to get you on now because it's the weekend. Yeah, so we don't have to. Wednesday nights it was Thursday. You were at work, so.
Yep, jumping in and out between meetings, it doesn't make it great for ongoing conversation. But no, it's a bit easier to get on a Saturday, and the timing's really nice because it's just after lunch. And usually, I'm pretty over the summer period when our football season's not on. I'm usually pretty free, so I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, well, Falky, thank you again. I really appreciate the time as always. I
Very
don't know if you want to be found on X, but if you do, let everyone know where they can find you.
Yeah, come and get the smoke on X. At Forky87. Don't show up don't show up if you got something stupid or smart to say. Serious, sensible conversations, please. Otherwise, you'll get the silent treatment. But yeah, to anybody who may be listening, I told you so, and I will continue to be an obnoxious prick about it too.
All right, thank you, Falky. Always a pleasure. Slow-mo backslap.
What's up?
Look, if you're at Iverson Mall, just leave. Slow-mo's waiting there to rob you. Just
if you got a Nintendo Switch too.
If you got a Nintendo Switch. If you have a Nintendo Switch, run. Slow-mo's waiting for you in the parking lot. And I don't mean that in a good way.
Run to or run from?
Run from. Don't run to.
Oh man.
You guys have DPS tomorrow.
Yeah, we're gonna try to one more time to get this going this week. We got a lot to talk about on our show. We got a lot of topics that we had planned. So with that, I think because it's not a normal day, me and Forte want to figure out like the best time to do it. I'm kind of leaning towards 8 p.m. right now tomorrow, but we'll see play it by ear, see how it goes. But we'll definitely send the bat signal out when we're going live and all that good stuff. And appreciate the invite as usual. Had a good time. Check us out on the DPS channel if you want to come through with me and Forte, and we'll have a good time.
Absolutely, Slow-mo. Always a great show there on DPS. And then Game Logic. I don't know if you want to be found, but if you do, let everyone know where they can find you as well. And thank you.
Yeah, you can catch me over on the E2KG Network podcasting channel on YouTube. We are on hiatus until at least 5 January. But you can catch our end of the year shows, parts 1 and 2 of the 2024 annual Game Superlative show. So we covered 14 categories to kind of define what we loved and what we despised about the gaming industry in 2024. So feel welcome to check those 2 episodes out. So it's about like 3 hours of content between the 2 episodes. So otherwise we'll be back in the new year.
All right, awesome. Actually, BRAP we will have a BRAP next Friday actually, and then we'll be back in the new year after that. But no, thank you everyone in the live chat for hanging out with us this evening. Really appreciate it. Do me a favor, hit that like button if you haven't done so already, and if you're new, consider subscribing and hit on the bell notification so you're alerted when we go live. I want to thank our guests, Falky again. Falky, it's always a pleasure having you on. Appreciate it. Also, want to thank the co-host Slimo Backslap and Game Logic as well. Big shout out to B Money 101 and Gaming Forte. Hopefully they can join us soon in the future. Hopefully before the new year. But again, everyone, have a great weekend. Have a happy holidays and a Merry Christmas as well. Hopefully everyone gets some downtime, some time to play video games and spend time with family and friends. And we will catch you next week. And again, go ahead.
I gotta hold us up from getting out.
Yeah,
I'll make this real quick. So Jared Leto cast as Skeletor in the Masters of the Universe.
I saw. Wow.
That's gonna be great.
Very quick rundown. Alison Brie as Eva Lynn, Idris Elba as Man at Arms, Nicholas Galitzine, who I don't know, he's He-Man, Jared Leto Skeletor, Camila Mendes as Tila. I can't even pronounce this dude's name. Half-Board, Julius Bjornsson as Goatman, Sam C. Wilson as Trapjaw, and Kojo Ata as Triclops.
Interesting. I didn't know they were making a new He-Man movie.
Who's directing it?
Oh man, I just saw his name on the article.
Is that
Travis
Oddball?
Knight.
Huh.
Travis Knight as director. Script looks like it's being written by Chris Butler.
So Jared Leto as Skeletor. Okay, that could work, I guess.
In the movie, at some point, he has to do the laugh and the runaway like that. He has to do the meme in the movie at some point. I needs that. I need that.
How great would that be if he did that?
If it was being directed by the same guys who did the Deadpool and Wolverine or the Deadpool movies, it would be a given. But the cast listing and the director, it sounds like it's probably not going to have too much laughs in it.
And by the way, this isn't the first He-Man live action movie. Dolph Lundgren.
I was about to say that. Yeah, in the 80s. Yeah.
The 80s. Yeah. Yeah. Should be interesting. I guess he
can barely speak English.
It's like Arnold playing He-Man. Go get the battle cot now. Go get the battle cot.
This is not an MCU entry, is it?
No.
Nah.
Good.
He-Man was a popular Mattel toy back in the early 80s and cartoon.
Mm. Yeah, no, but they've been bought up by. Yeah. Didn't Mattel get bought out by? Or did Mattel buy out Marvel? Some deal there recently. I know Mattel bought Thomas the Tank Engine and Bob the Builder and absolutely destroyed them. So I'm not exactly convinced that this is going to be any better if Mattel's got their hands on it.
Yeah, I don't know.
He-Man.
What does Mattel own? Mattel owns Barbie, Fisher-Price, Uno, Hot Wheels, American Girl. I guess that's big. I don't know.
American Girl is huge. Hey, American Girl is huge, by the way.
I'm not shocked.
They have
Barney. They own Barney
restaurants.
There's American Girl restaurants.
Yes.
What?
You take your doll there, and you have like tea and like lunch. They have one at Tyson's Corner Mall. Slimo. It is huge.
My daughter would probably love that. I might have to do that. They also own Bob the Builder. They own Bob the Builder, Power Wheels, Tyco, Thomas and Friends. God, they own it. Yeah. If it's for kids, they own it.
Sounds like a monopoly.
Yeah, they bought Hit Entertainment, which had Bob the Builder and Thomas the Tank Engine back in 2012, and just destroyed it ever since.
Slimo, Game Logic, why isn't Lena Khan looking into this?
She's kind of unemployed, which she's about to be unemployed. So, yeah.
Here you go. Jared Leto to play Skeletor in Masters of the Universe movie. Cast also set for villains Trapjaw, Triclops, and Goatman. Travis Knight, the director, he directed Bumblebee. So there you go.
Good grief. They freaking own everything.
Sorry, Mattel Television 29. Yeah. Mattel Films is run by ex-Disney television executives. That's why I thought it was part of Disney.
Yeah. All right.
My apologies. My apologies for misquoting on that one.
No, that's all right. That's all right, Falky. But all right, everyone. Good night, good morning, or wherever you are. Good day. We'll catch you next week. Thank you again for watching this episode of BRAP. Do me a favor, hit that like button if you haven't done so. Consider subscribing, hit the bell notification so you're alerted when we go live. Again, everyone, happy holidays and a Merry Christmas. We'll see you next week. Thank you.